Live. Welcome to the program here. As always, you can take control of the airwaves. The number for you, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We'll take your calls about anything that happens to be on your mind if you want to join us.
Sorry, I was late, boss. I was doing drugs.
Had you not said that, no one would have known.
But now nobody knows.
Except those watching on the cam feed, because they could obviously see the studio. I imagine you were still out at the hangout this evening. Yeah, you are late, dude. It's okay.
I am late. Okay, yeah. I was actually thinking I was coming in at the end of a segment.
Nope.
I'm not actually bad. I'm only like 2 minutes late.
You were still in the intro music. So
okay. I see. I thought that was extra music.
And you beat Penguin here.
I beat the Penguin.
Which is really unusual.
It's true. He's usually very punctual.
Indeed. So there's a story that Richie Rich actually shared in our host's chat room that I thought was outrageously titled, and I wanted to share that here tonight. It is titled and is written in the Stamford Advocate, StamfordAdvocate.com's. Oh, actually, it's from the Washington Post. Correction, they're just syndicating it. Petula Dvorak writing, "For some, wearing a mask is liberating."
Yeah, well, bank robbers have been doing that for years.
Yeah, that's true.
And it does keep some of them out of prison. Which I can see actually how that could be. Like, I always liked when I was a kid, like being like out downtown at night and that anonymity of just, you're passing through people, you're passing around them, but they're not really seeing you. They don't know who you are. You're just another person walking down the street. And I liked that kind of anonymity. So I can see how wearing a mask might be attractive. I mean, if I wasn't so damn good looking, I'd consider it.
By the way, welcome, Chris.
Hey, Penguin.
Hey. Ian, Nobody, and Chris here in the studio tonight. We were actually just at a local restaurant here in town, the local pho noodle place called Fucking Great. And
it is fucking great.
Yeah, and we did witness, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but we did witness a customer who said something to the manager about our masks not required in here, and I think the owner replied something to the effect of,
"I like breathing."
It was even funnier than that. She said, "Are you anti-mask?" That was the way she phrased it.
And the owner
said,
if
somebody asked me, "Are you anti-mask?" I'd say, "Nah, man, you can wear a mask if you want to. Sure. I don't care."
It's humorous because the owner replied saying something like, "I'm pro-breathing."
Yeah. And then the woman got up and said she was leaving.
Which was kind of funny because she didn't say no to the mask, to being anti-mask. She simply said she actually, tried to kind of sort of gloss over, over that question a little bit by saying, I'm pro-breathing. But also still saying at the same time.
I told her in Keene, because there's so many liberals, the thing to say is I'm pro-choice.
That would have been funny.
Yeah, it's your body, your choice.
My body, my choice. And that's the thing. Other people can do their thing, and I don't care.
Yeah,
I just want to have a place where I can do my thing, where I can be comfortable.
I don't,
because what scares the hell out of me isn't COVID. It's tyranny.
No doubt.
Yeah. And she doesn't even seem like she's anti-mask, really. A lot of people who say they're anti-mask are not really
people telling her what to do. Right.
And I think a lot of the people who, would say they're anti-mask are not anti-mask so much as they're just anti, people telling you what to do, especially government.
She doesn't tell her customers to take a mask off.
Right.
She doesn't even tell her employees. If the employees want to wear one, they can too.
Yeah. And, when people rip on people for wearing masks, which I have heard, I must admit I've heard it from Ian a couple of times. But
me? No, I would never do that.
Yes.
No, I don't think so. I've never ripped on somebody.
There have been
no. You might be confusing me with Andy, who said he was walking down the street today yelling at people.
It's
wearing masks. I've never told somebody.
I think he was drunk.
He might have been.
Andy was definitely drunk. He said so himself.
Yeah.
But Andy is definitely the most.
That's not the way to do it. But the thing is, it's people's mental health is deteriorating predictably under these circumstances. So I expect the crazy to get thicker and thicker as time goes on, because it's right around the year mark in jail that you really start going nuts.
And it's been about a year now.
It's been almost a year. We just the funny thing is, we were going to have a party for the birthday of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, but the person who was throwing the party, who shall remain nameless, had to cancel it because she thought she was a virus risk.
Was she?
Well, the thing is, in a way, yes. Apparently, she had gone to the doctor, okay, and the doctor had said, "I'm not going to treat you unless you take the vaccine."
Oh my
and
God.
So she took the vaccine.
Why didn't she find another doctor?
I can't imagine. She must have been in a hurry. I mean, if we've got to get some good medical professionals to be up here and stay up here so this doesn't happen to more people.
Wow,
but that's why she's a virus risk, is
Wow.
because she got forced to take this experimental vaccine.
Yeah.
And that's unconscionable.
Well, there's some pretty interesting news. We'll get to the story about claiming that mask wearing is liberating for some. We'll get into that here in a moment.
Well, it's liberating if you want to. I just don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat. I mean, but it's. I still want to hear what these people have to say about why they find a something that is by definition restrictive liberating.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we have a certain assessment of the math and the risks, okay? And, it's not completely irrational to have a different assessment, especially if you're under, if you're operating under different assumptions.
Like if the assumption that the government is honest and that you can trust the medical establishment.
If you trust different people, it's not irrelevant, or it's not irrational to be
I'm going to say it's irrational to trust the government.
Well,
that might be.
I would tend to agree with you.
All the evidence suggests that they are dishonest in almost everything they do.
I think there is another perspective here that may have.
Everybody else is just as convinced that their political corrections are their political convictions are correct.
It's not political.
And, well, it is.
It's just observation. The government lies, and they do it over and over again. And it doesn't matter which political party's in charge.
Well, no, it doesn't matter which political party is in charge, but it does matter if there's a government.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
so
they still lie. It doesn't matter
that's a political
who they are.
issue.
I don't agree. There's no second
whether
side
or not
to
you're
this.
going to have politics is by definition a political.
Is there another side to the issue of the government is a liar? Because there really isn't.
Well, no, there's obviously,
there's deniers.
I think that the government is admitted to lying on a regular basis.
And then there's all the other times where they haven't admitted to it, but they are lying.
Yeah. And I think they lie a lot more than they've admitted. But you got to remember, they're guarding all the doors and they're holding all the keys. The FCC has all the radio licenses.
Well, there's a little bit of good news.
The FCC has all of the TV licenses.
Yeah. Speaking of guarded doors, the federal courthouse has been set ablaze, apparently.
Which one?
In Portland, Oregon.
Nice.
Wow.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can join us here and take control of the airwaves. So we can talk about
nobody was hurt.
all of those things here. And your calls and thoughts are welcome. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. It's bitcoin.com.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can also join us online. Head over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we have waiting for you there. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. That's where you can go to get the basics on Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, cryptocurrency in general. If you haven't taken the time to learn those things, head over, click on Get Started at the top of the page over at Bitcoin.com. Again, that's Bitcoin.com. Plus, you can get the latest news headlines if you go to news.bitcoin.com. We can talk more about the fire that was set. It's not currently on fire. I don't think it was a particularly significant fire, but apparently somebody did set fire at
Was the roof on fire?
I don't think it got that far, unfortunately. In downtown Portland, the U.S. Federal Courthouse will tell you more about
federal.
That. Right?
Secession?
Yeah, I don't think that's what the people there have in mind, but nonetheless, I still support.
Well, they kind of seceded once. Isn't that the town where they had?
I thought that was Seattle.
Okay,
yeah, you're
right.
Zone.
No, they tried to do an autonomous zone.
They did, and it failed.
It failed there. Okay, yeah, you're right. But, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
StanfordAdvocate.com writing, a year into the pandemic, a lot has changed, and we're reminded of that every time we go outside. And then in parentheses, they add, if we go outside. You can tell who this is written for.
I go outside. I like it
joined
outside.
The traditional don't leave home without them trifecta of keys, wallets, and phones, and they're here to stay. There are folks who hate them, who can't breathe through them, or who think they're a sign of political oppression. But for others, the widespread use of masks has made the past year one of liberation.
My late wife used to say, do you have your testicles, your spectacles, your wallet, and your watch?
With a mask, you can sing in the grocery store, talk to yourself on a walk, grimace in the gym, leave the spinach in your teeth, have coffee breath, forget lipstick, and no one is the wiser.
Oh, groovy. I can fall apart. Just what I always wanted. I can become a degenerate. I never thought of that.
Oh, the savings on Altoids and L'Oreal this past year, the author says. Folks on social media write little odes to the masked life. Quote, I love wearing the mask. I want to do this forever. It has helped my social anxiety so much, said one.
Well, and that's groovy. I can see how that could be. And if you want to wear a mask for the rest of your life, I am completely cool with that. Sometimes I want to put on a Guy Fawkes mask just to irritate people, and sometimes I do.
Yeah, it is their right. It's their face, and they can do whatever they want. But unfortunately, if
I do it, I'm going to do it with style. I'm going to get like a gorilla mask or nice. Guy Fawkes.
But unfortunately, if this really does become a constant thing done by the supermajority of people, I really believe that there's some damage that will be done mentally, especially to young people who would be growing up without being able to see people's faces.
The thing is, if the society you're in goes insane, the thing to do is to withdraw. Okay,
to where?
Well, my goal when I started a church, the reason that I started a church was I want to eventually have a piece of land where my little tribe can be as free as the Amish are, which is pretty bloody free. They don't want to vaccinate, they don't vaccinate. They don't want to pay Social Security, they don't pay Social Security. And if there's something, I'm kind of a libertarian separatist in that way, I don't mind circling the wagons into a couple hundred acres if on that couple hundred acres I can actually be free.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
And that's something you're working on, I think, behind the scenes right now.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get there. I mean, the thing is, nobody's crazy enough to do what I plan to do, and
and your name is nobody.
My name is nobody. And the thing is, I think that if we shuck and jive just right, and we have a big enough pot of gold to attract the lawyers that we need, I think we can achieve a significant degree of liberty in our
Well, if you have enough people,
lifetime.
You don't need lawyers.
Well, if you still need lawyers if you don't want to have a shooting war with the bad guys. And I don't want to have a shooting war with the bad guys.
Okay, good.
That's what I'm trying to avoid.
I'm glad to hear that.
But the thing is, the way to avoid that is to have enough money that you can pay enough lawyers that they can they can maintain a campaign of shock and awe against the other side. And there are
the government?
Yes, against the government, but do it in a legal way. Do it like the Satanists do. The Satanists are winning a lot of battles. Now, they don't want exactly the same things that I want, but that's okay. They've shown how to travel. Picking a direction is up to us.
You might want to contact them and find out who their attorney is.
Well, that's exactly what I plan to do. But before I do that, I want to have $50K that I can give him as a retainer so that I can start using his time when I'm in the planning stage of this thing, just like Rosa Parks sat down with ACLU lawyers and she planned out exactly what she was going to do in order to build the perfect case. And that's one of the mistakes that we've been making, I think, with our activism is we don't talk to the attorney until after we've been arrested. But what's better than getting arrested is...
Well, being left alone is better.
Well, it's better to be left alone, but that for the moment is out of reach. But that's the promised land. That's where I'm trying to take this thing. But we're going to have to go through a fighting and winning stage in order for that to happen.
Well,
until they
things.
get so sick of us that they either kill us or leave us alone.
See, I think that we've already been winning even when we've so-called lost, battles, because sometimes it's not about, it's about the fight and the publicity and the people coming, and we have that. We have people coming.
It's about sustainability also, though, because basically my encounter with the law almost took me out of the game. Okay? It almost took me out of the game. If I hadn't fought like hell to stay in it, I would have had to go home or something. I would have had to go someplace else. It almost destroyed me.
603-283-6160. Hold that thought. We can continue here in moments. Is it time for people to separate who can't get along? I think I agree with that much, at least. I think Liberty people need to get to New Hampshire, but there's more on the way. It's Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and if you want to join us here, you can do that. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
And we're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. Coming up, we'll tell you about what happened at the Portland Courthouse. Apparently, it was set on fire, but I don't know for how long it was set on fire. I'm not seeing any significant destruction here.
The beautiful thing about a dancing bear, though, isn't how well it dances. It's that it dances at all.
That's true. And so, of course, you can bring up what you want. Plus, another story here that we just barely got started on. There, some people are saying wearing a mask is liberating for them. But we're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. First, we got a viewer on YouTube.
There's a lot of bank robbers wouldn't be walking the street today if they hadn't worn a mask. It was certainly liberating for them.
We go to Matthew in Connecticut. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Matthew.
Hey, you said that nobody was hurt in the fire, right?
I don't think it really actually did much damage to the building.
No, I just laughed about it later.
I was calling to make sure that nobody was okay.
Nobody's here.
Oh, yes, nobody's fine.
Oh, great. But no, what I wanted to also talk about, I think a silver lining of this COVID thing, you know how, like, the outrageous government stuff has made more people question government than ever before?
That's true.
Oh, yeah, it's pushed me over the edge.
I feel like this... if these experimental vaccination and stuff, I think if that stuff goes really badly and there's a lot of bad outcomes, I feel like a silver lining could be more people are going to question the doctor-patient relationship than ever before and what their doctor's recommending for them. And that could have some real positives in the future.
This is an important lesson for people to learn because these are the quacks who claim that oxycodone is safe, but weed has no medical value. morons.
Matthew, anything else you want to share?
That was it.
Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it.
Yep.
The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. So we had started up a story here. We'll get to the federal courthouse in a moment, but the Washington Post, Petula Dvorak writing, interviewing people and getting social media posts from people who love wearing a mask. One lady says she wants to do it forever. She loves wearing a mask. She says it has helped my social anxiety so much. Another person said, wearing a mask is really letting me be ugly in peace. I love it here, said the person. One librarian, much loved by local kids on the West Coast, said she loves being able to go do errands without being recognized by her tiny fans. Amid 500,000 lives lost, financial ruin, and social devastation that the coronavirus has wrought. By the way, it wasn't the coronavirus that did those things.
And it wasn't nearly 500,000.
Yeah. Because they've just labeled all kinds of things COVID that probably weren't.
They lie.
There are teeny tiny glimmers of good things this cruel virus has left us. The normalized use of masks is one of them, says this propaganda piece. Donna Bauer, who is a Twitter maven in Orlando, Florida, writes, I don't think I could ever go back to not wearing a mask. I like not catching colds, not wearing makeup, and not being noticed, she said. So even vaccinated and with herd immunity, I'm still going to be hiding behind it.
Well, groovy. If that makes her happy, more power to her.
It's a familiar sentiment as we mark a year into a global pandemic. She says, the author says, my 16-year-old son made me think about this. Yes, he's a teen who comes with all the familiar afflictions of his gender and age, that misanthropic streak that makes him roll his eyes when I'm chit-chatting with store clerks. He's a polite and well-spoken kid when he has to be, but I didn't consider that social graces aren't easy for him. Quote, I want to keep wearing a mask after this is over, he told me. I can just go and do my thing, and I don't have to interact with people. It's liberating, he said.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, there's a reason that I start working at 10 o'clock at night and stop in the morning. I mean...
what's the reason?
Well, my CEO of my company when I was at Masterlink called me up one day at 3 o'clock in the morning when I was working, and he said, Rich, why the hell do I have to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning to get you on the phone? And I said, because I know you're not going to call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and waste my time.
You know, I'm not quite sure that's the same circumstance, but it's a funny story.
I'm an introvert,
and it's very true. I'm sure.
Way.
Yeah.
I used to say crazy stuff. They were. I was having it out with them in a design meeting one night about, and the architecture they were advising just could not be implemented. And I said, if you want it done wrong, I can give you the phone numbers of people who will do it wrong beyond your wildest dreams, but I'm not going to do it that way.
So, you know, as Sir Kenosha Kyle points out in our chat room over on our Matrix chat server, he says, it's just like we said, these mask holes are ugly and people who can't function in society.
But, you know, a lot of people are both of those things, and they've got a right to exist and be happy to the best of their ability, too.
You know, it sounds just so much of a stretch. You know, what's the stretch? Said. I mean, that you're so ugly that, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe that one could be true, but the other one of, like, social anxiety kind of deal, like, that just seems...
But there's a truth behind what's being said, regardless of the details, which is that these people have low self-esteem for whatever reason, and it hurts them to be around people. And if I had sensitive skin, I'd wear sunscreen.
I don't know. I'm just a little skeptical that the mask is going to, you know, solve somebody's social anxiety.
They're claiming it does.
Going out.
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry, but like the examples they were giving and
some
such.
People juggle geese.
I don't know. I'm a little skeptical on that one. Like a 16-year-old boy, like especially a 16-year-old boy. Like I don't know. It just
didn't want to hide when you were 16.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like
I
not
felt
going
it
out.
when Hamlet said, "Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, form, and resolve itself into a dew."
I understand not wanting to go out. Like I totally get that, but. Once you go out, it's not like you need to cover your mask. It's the social interactions.
But some
I don't see
feel
that
more
as
comfortable that way, and that's their right.
It's their right.
You
There's
have
no
the
doubt.
right to
and nobody's
be weird.
Nobody's disagreeing
as
with
you
that.
Want to?
I just seem like it just seems to be like the story might be a little bit fabricated.
Well, no, I don't think it's fabricated.
Maybe it is, but who the hell cares?
I mean,
if
that's what
they're
this
comfortable. Don't worry, be happy.
That's what this kid said. Well, that's the thing.
It's when you start busting my balls because that's
Which
not
they
how
do.
I want. Not all of them do. Some of them do. Somebody with severe social anxiety probably doesn't have the courage to bust
Right,
my
that's true.
balls. Have you met me?
Well, but that's the thing. What they're admitting, what this guy's admitting here, the son of this author,
Is that he's socially awkward.
Yeah.
And he walks around the world feeling like he doesn't fit in. Who hasn't felt that way?
I mean, I feel like that when we're walking around here and we're in the minority. We're the people who aren't wearing masks. I was just in Walmart today, and it was total compliance with the exception of me and Bonnie walking through the store. But what's interesting about what he's saying here is that he feels as though when he's wearing a mask that he's less likely to have interactions with people.
Yeah.
So that is an admission.
There might be some truth to that.
That's an admission that these masks are making people less likely to socialize. They're taking away, again, because when you have interactions with people, it's usually it's usually because they're smiling, right? You want to go up to a person who's smiling, looking friendly, whether it's in a store or wherever. 603-283-6160. So we got that. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
If you're looking for work, you know the math. There are many more applicants than openings, so you need to stand out, not blend into the blah, blah, blah your interviewer is hearing from your competition. Here's a tip. In your interview, you will be judged more by the questions you ask than the answers you give. Yes, do anticipate the obvious job interview questions and prepare concise, insightful, glass-half-full sounding responses. And you should interview your interviewer. Seem genuinely curious about what will help get results. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. You want to cut through the clutter. For more tips for job seekers and making all the other conversations you have more productive, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You know that at some point in your life, an emergency is going to happen. You just don't know when. You could call the government and maybe they'll help, or they might shoot your dog. Why call potentially psychopathic strangers when you could ask your friends, family, or neighbors for help? Cell 411 makes decentralized emergency response possible, and it's free. Visit getcell411.com or download Cell 411 from your favorite app store. Getcell411.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. You can dial in here and join us. The number that's not toll free, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. I should stop saying that in another 5 years.
It's so hilarious that you're still saying it.
It's funny, isn't it? I haven't done it in quite a while, though.
Yeah, but it's really hard when you've said something for 10 years or whatever to stop saying it, especially when it's every day, every night.
Yep. 603-283-6160 is the number here. We're going to get back into people saying that wearing a mask is liberating, they claim. We'll share more about that with you here. It's Ian, Chris, and nobody in the studio. And also want to make sure you know about the Free Talk Live AMP program. Want to thank the Freeman for contributing $5 a month to the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It is a way for you to help us get Free Talk Live on more radio stations, to expose new people to the ideas of freedom, because people need to hear them more, I think, than they ever have. Go to ampamp.freetalklive.com and you can get signed up there with PayPal, credit card, debit card, or even Bitcoin BTC. That's amp.freetalklive.com. We go to Mike in Wisconsin. Mike, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah. I just bought some Bitcoin.
Congrats.
Yeah, go me.
Sweet.
Yep. But I wanted to talk about my job. I
sure.
got canceled a little bit. I got a 90-day suspension on my lead position. I'm in charge of people, and I asked the girl out to go have a steak dinner, and then a little later on, I brought up the story about this child in California with 3 dads, and now I'm on a 90-day work.
Okay, hold on a second. How did you asking a girl out and bringing up a story while on a date result in you being suspended? Was the girl a coworker?
She was a coworker, and I'm her.
Don't fish on the company pier.
Is that why they suspended you? Because you took somebody out on a date in general, or because
she refused the date, and she didn't? She agreed to it, and then she turned it down later. And I brought up the story later on about the kid in California with 3 dads, and I got talked to tonight about being homophobic. Oof.
What kind of job? What kind of work is this?
Days,
What's the industry?
Oh, I solder. I'm a wire harness technician.
Okay.
I work in a factory, basically.
Huh. Could you install a ham radio in a car?
I wish. I would love to learn that knowledge.
Okay.
But no, I just
well, if you learn, I've got
mostly-
one that needs to go in.
Okay, he's in Wisconsin, dude. I don't think he's going to come all the way
Come
out.
on
here
out, man.
Hey, I would
free.
love to come out there someday.
Do
Real
it.
soon. I'm thinking I'll come out there. Love to meet you, nobody.
So, Mike, just to clarify, you haven't been suspended, or you are suspended. I'm sorry. What's the current status at work?
Not technically not suspended, but I was a team lead. Not for another 90 days. I got to shut up, put my headphones in, and work hard, and I'll be lead.
So wait, you were going to be promoted to team lead, or you were?
Oh,
and then
I have been for a year.
And then they demoted you. Hold on, they demoted you from team lead.
Pretty much. And they said, hey, 90 days, shut the hell up. Shut up, and you'll still be lead.
I see. Wow.
So what's the deal with the guy with the 3 dads? Who cares?
A little kid in California who's got 3 dads. That doesn't seem right to me.
Why?
3 dads.
Yeah.
Isn't there a movie about that?
I mean, is there
maybe
is there such a thing as having too many people that love you?
Ooh, you got me.
There you go,
Yeah.
Mike. Hey,
Yeah.
you know, it's generally a bad idea to go out with your coworkers, especially if you are in a management position and they're beneath you. It usually doesn't go very well, from what I understand. I have not done this myself, but I've heard, enough stories, and that's another one.
I've done it, just not on jobs I liked.
Where you didn't care if you lost the job. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a girl's better than a job.
There you go. Mike, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. 603-283-6160.
Not your
Not
Renee.
my Renee.
Oh, wow.
603-283-6160. So we were talking about people who feel like they are liberated. That's the actual word that the son of the author that wrote the story over at the Washington Post, the author's name is Petula Dvorak. He says that he wants to keep wearing a mask after this is over. He says, I can just go and do my thing, and I don't have to interact with people. It's liberating. And so the suggestion there is that by wearing a mask, he feels as though he gets fewer interactions with the people who are around him. Maybe somebody will be less likely to say hello to him as he's walking down the street. Maybe somebody at a store will be less likely to offer to help him if he's, standing in an aisle looking for a thing or whatever. And those are actual results that I can see being the case from people wearing masks. I've walked through the store aisles at a Walmart, and I had the intention on one day in particular. It was a relatively empty day in the store as far as customers were concerned. The store staff was stocking shelves and things like that, and so I made a point of saying hello and making eye contact, or trying to make eye contact with the store employees. Now,
some of them don't want to.
Yeah, well, at a retail store, they're supposed to, right? So, like when you're
they're supposed to.
Yeah, when you're at a retail store, it's actually supposed to be the job of the clerk to say hello to the customers.
I hated that, though. When I was
it's not the job for you.
It probably depends on the store. There's certain stores that have the opposite, like policies and things of that, because it's
I don't
less
know
efficient.
I don't know what the policy is at Walmart.
Right,
but
right.
When I was working in retail, this was
absolutely.
in the 1990s at Kmart, which is similar enough. They had the policy that, if you were doing your thing out on the floor, the sales floor, whatever, and a customer is in the near vicinity to you, you should go over to them and ask them if they need help. That's a good thing to do. I would be shocked if a store had a policy against that.
Well, the reason some stores would is because two reasons. The first is, like, if I'm walking through a store and somebody's, welcome to Costco, I love you, that just irritates me.
Sure.
Because he doesn't. And he doesn't, unless it's somebody who actually seems to be like sincere, then I just want him to do his thing if he doesn't want to talk to me, because I'm probably writing a computer program.
Well, the way you normally
in my
handle
head.
that, nobody, is you simply say, I'm fine, thanks. And then you go about, you do your thing.
But maybe wearing a mask is an abbreviated form
Clearly,
of that.
That's the point here.
And it's just fine.
Do we really need stickers to say I'm autistic? I mean, seriously.
Apparently a mask is enough now.
Not
but
necessarily
you have to
autistic.
The reason why you want to ask customers if they're looking for something or if there's something you can help them with is because some people are anxious socially, and being able to give them the opportunity to ask, because it's more difficult for somebody in a anxiety position or whatever to come up to an employee than it is to have the employee come up to them. So I mean, there are reasons why. They've done studies on this, right? Like they don't just create a policy like this because it doesn't work.
Nothing is one size. I
understand
fits
that.
all.
But the only way you know as a employee of a store if a customer doesn't need help is if they tell you. You have to go up and ask.
Well, that's true, but maybe they can tell you that by wearing a mask.
I understand what you're saying, nobody. I'm explaining to you why it is that this is happening and what's happening.
I'm explaining to you that studies can tell you what the majority's tastes are. But that's the majority. Right. There are also minorities. There are people who don't want to be bothered.
I understand that.
And at the end of the day, the whole reason they do the opposite is not because of either of these things. It has to do with the fact that the more people they have on the, in the store, helping customers, the more the costs go up because labor is expensive. So if you don't have your employees do that, like think Aldi, prices get lower and then they compete on that basis. So it's the same reason that you put a coin in order to get out the cart if you ever been into an Aldi's. And then they give you that coin back, I believe.
Costco, BJ's Warehouse. Now there are people there that talk to you, but they're all giving you samples of something that they want you to buy. So they're doing it as a profit center. They're not there to to make happy banter with you.
The whole point I brought this up was because employees are not doing that now. They are basically doing their thing, and you have to get their attention, and it's even hard to get them to say hello to you.
Yeah.
And I think that this masking is dehumanizing people. It's disconnecting people. People like this who are incredibly socially anxious or whatever, they're loving. They're in high heaven on this. But I think ultimately it's doing a lot of damage to society. Your thoughts are welcome.
I think everybody has to human in their own way.
603-283-6160. You can take control of the airwaves. Hour number 2 is next. Free Talk Live.
Hey developers, do you want to add Bitcoin to your apps, website? Want to make something creative? AnyPay is the way. We made a super simple API just for you at anypay.dev. You don't need any special knowledge of Bitcoin. Plug it into your app or website and it just works. Get paid on the transactions your users make. Whether you're brand new to web development or have decades of experience, you can add Bitcoin to anything with anypay.dev.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
AnyPay believes that Bitcoin is meant to improve your life, make it easier to do business, connect you with more people in the world at under a penny every time. That's kind of why we laugh at BTC. It used to be free the market, free the world. Now it's just hodl and have fun staying poor. That's not what the world needs. We need honest money that works for everyone. If you care, join us at anypayx.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
More calls to step aside. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Both New York Senators Chuck Schumer, the majority leader, and Kirsten Gillibrand have added their names to the growing list of prominent Democrats calling for New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to step down, as a seventh woman has accused him of sexual misconduct. This afternoon, the governor said the voters should wait for the investigations to conclude and said the calls for him to resign from politicians are reckless.
There are now 2 reviews underway. No one wants them to happen more quickly and more thoroughly than I do.
The latest accuser is a former journalist who claims Cuomo touched her inappropriately. Her first-person account was published in New York Magazine. The family of George Floyd has reached a multi-million-dollar civil settlement with the city of Minneapolis.
The city of Minneapolis will pay George Floyd's family $27 million in a settlement over Floyd's police custody death last year.
We are very grateful and we applaud you for this great step of showing the world responsible leadership.
Family attorney Ben Crump, the settlement also includes $500,000 to be spent on community efforts. 4 former police officers are charged in the case 2 years after the city settled for $20 million with the family of Justine Reischek, who was shot and killed by a now convicted former police officer. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
A ceremony this afternoon at the White House as President Biden and congressional Democrats celebrated the signing of the coronavirus relief package.
Every single major economist out there, left, right, and center, supported this plan.
The president said the latest stimulus payment could hit some Americans' bank accounts as soon as this weekend. America is listening to Fox News.
Are you running a business? Then why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office 24/7. With Stamps.com, you get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
President Biden held a virtual White House meeting this morning with the leaders of 3 nations.
The president touted the American Rescue Plan with counterparts in the quadrilateral security dialogue, telling the prime ministers of India, Australia, and Japan the package will help drive global economic growth and defeat the coronavirus.
Launching an ambitious new joint partnership that is going to boost vaccine manufacturing and for the global benefit.
The Quad is an informal alliance designed to combat growing Chinese influence. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
The FCC has designated 5 Chinese companies as posing a threat to national security under a 2019 law aimed at protecting U.S. communications networks. The companies include Huawei and ZTE. Last year, those companies were deemed a national security threat to U.S. communications networks, which prevents American firms from using a government fund to purchase equipment from them. Major League Baseball will test out some rule changes by experimenting across the minor leagues.
At the highest level of minor league baseball, there will be a shorter distance between bases because the size of the bases will be larger by 3 square inches, from 15 inches to 18, and a less slippery base surface, both measures aimed to reduce injuries. In effort to eliminate teams from shifting their defenses in Double-A ball, all 4 infielders will have to keep both feet on the infield dirt before pitches get thrown to increase action on the bases and create more scoring. In Single-A minor league ball, experiments will include a 15-second pitch clock, an automated ball strike system.
Free Talk Live.
You give someone an ounce of liberty and they'll go around abusing it and harming everyone else with it.
If we legalize guns...
People will be shooting people everywhere.
Right.
If you legalize prostitution, people will be having sex on the street corners. If you legalize drugs, we'll have heroin vending machines in the streets. We've heard it all on Free Talk Live. They take it to the most absurd, illogical extremes, and you're absolutely right, Alexander. It's okay for them to have freedom.
Yeah, you can give them a gun. They won't go around shooting people. But watch out with their neighbor, because you give them a gun, they'll go around in a rampage around the city, killing everyone.
But yes, they can be trusted, and apparently the government can be trusted too, because magically, we only elect the best of the best, the cream of the crop. The bureaucrats that are administering these programs are the upper echelon of society, the most trustworthy individuals.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when I squint, I swear I can see a halo above their heads.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It was on this day in 1982 that the first roller skating while carrying a boombox member of Congress was elected when James Sugar Boots Franklin narrowly won New York's 8th congressional seat. Franklin's victory was a watershed moment at the time, signaling that America's burgeoning population of boombox carrying roller skaters had finally gained mainstream acceptance.
We prove Congress isn't just for suits and crew cuts. Say hello to the slickest legislator on 8 wheels, James Sugar Boots Franklin.
Franklin was an unlikely pioneer, a street-smart skater who admitted to being more concerned with impressing honeys with his silky smooth moves than with politics. Franklin began organizing boombox-carrying roller skaters, advocating for basic rights like roller skate-accessible ramps in government buildings and protected street lanes where they could lay down cones for some sweet slaloming.
Just because we like to roll it out and have a smooth, fluid style that cannot be denied doesn't mean we aren't Americans. Yeah! That's right.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. We are kicking off the second hour here of the program. Some people say wearing a mask is liberating. We'll tell you more about that on the way. And a federal courthouse, protesters attempted to set on fire. Now, how long the fires lasted, I don't know, but we'll tell you more about that on the way. But first, I want to let you know who's here. It's Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
The number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
Let me get in a pitch. I'm going to be doing Nobody Tells the Truth tonight, a very special episode. I'm going to unveil a new project, new-ish project, one that I'm getting serious about. And so if you want to find out what that's all about, tune in at 10:30, and I'll be here.
That's 10:30 Eastern Time, and that'll be on our video channels like Twitch and DLive and 7 other. I think we added like 5 to 7.
Is there a website that I can find this at?
Yeah, you could go.
We need to set up IFTTT to direct that to my Nobody Tells Elect Nobody site.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you want to do there. We can talk about that off the air. But regarding which site you could go to, if you just go to lrn.fm, it'll have it there on the front page. The webcam is built in from Twitch there, but we're also now on 5 or 7 different other centralized streaming platforms. So we're sort of decentralizing by going on as many platforms as we possibly can. Unfortunately, the PeerTube instance that we spun up has been buggy, so we're not ready to. I'd let our amplifiers know about where they could go and find it, but by night number 2, it was pretty clear that it was too problematic to continue bothering with. But we've got a bug support or a support request put in with the PeerTube folks, so hopefully we're going to be able to see that come online at some point this year.
Cool.
But meanwhile,
I had a difficult time with PeerTube as well. I ended up abandoning it.
It's a cool idea.
Temporarily.
Hopefully, we're going to see library streaming sometime in 2021 as well. So there's some pretty cool stuff going on. In fact, I added a page to lrn.fm recently, which is all about the different video platforms that our video feed is now available on. So just look up on lrn.fm and then click under Listen and Watch. There's a video streams option there. All right, so back to your comments here. The number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. We've been talking about people who are calling masks liberating, which, of course, a lot of us feel the exact opposite. And folks in the chat room are commenting here. Kenosha Kyle says that it's just like we said, these mask holes are ugly and people who can't function in society. And that's ultimately what people have said in this article, which is very pro-mask from StanfordAdvocate.com. One teenager says that he wants to continue wearing masks after this is over. He says, I can just go and do my thing and I don't have to interact with people. It's liberating. Another woman says that she doesn't think she could ever go back to wearing a mask. She says, I like not
wearing a mask.
Correct. Sorry. Is that not what I said?
Yeah, you said she couldn't go back to wearing a mask.
Sorry, yeah. She says, I like not catching colds, not wearing makeup, and not being noticed. So even vaccinated and with herd immunity, I'm still going to be hiding behind it. Kenosha Kyle also says, I didn't say they couldn't wear them if they want. If these losers want to mask up, fine, but I'm not going to, and they don't have a right to make me.
But the thing is, they're not responsible for people who want to make you wear a mask. Okay? That's a completely different agenda.
But some of them are those people.
Some of them are, but I doubt very many of them are, because crippling social anxiety is not something that predisposes you to go out and be a Karen. Crippling social anxiety
That's the opposite.
is something that makes you want to hide.
Yeah.
Just like they're saying. There are, I mean, come on, let's have some bloody compassion for people. Not everybody is going to be perfect, you know? And if Kyle doesn't like that, screw Kyle.
Yeah, the social anxiety thing, I think the effect of this would be people are going to, who have social anxiety, are probably going to feel the need to wear the mask, but it's because other people are wearing the mask and they're afraid of being yelled at for not wearing the mask.
Well, that is not the case with all of them.
Maybe
though.
not.
There are
but I think
also
a good portion
people
of them
who don't want to be seen. Have you ever seen teenage girls who wear their hair over their face so you can't see
I'm not
them?
saying that there's not, some, small percentage of people who are, really ugly and are self-conscious.
Come on, ugly.
But
there are people who have poor self-esteem. There are people who hurt in the world. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think there's probably a larger group of people who have poor self-esteem that it's not because they're ugly. It's they're not even thinking about their looks. It's simply that, the social interaction aspect of it. Yeah. And I think they're the kind of people who are not going to leave the house anyway, generally speaking, if they can avoid it.
But sometimes they have to.
And when they do, the mask or not mask thing is it's not irrelevant to their thinking. It's only to the extent that they're being afraid of other people yelling at them for not wearing a mask, that they don't wear a mask.
Or they like the idea of hiding, but normally they would be afraid that people would yell at them for wearing a mask, and now they know nobody will.
Yeah, that much is true. It has become a normal thing to do, and that is part of my problem with it, that, you can say that some of these people may not support mandating masks, and that may be true, but a significant portion of them probably does, because a lot of them buy into all the propaganda surrounding the masks.
Well,
they buy into the idea that they are somehow protecting them from getting ill.
But really, that's not what they're saying. They're saying it's protecting them from social anxiety.
That's what they're saying in this story.
That's a different group of people.
No, it may not be different, okay?
There may be overlap.
If they're so worried, stay home. If you don't want to interact with people,
maybe they don't want to stay
home.
If you're comfortable being a weirdo, be a comfortable weirdo.
That's what the internet was designed for people who don't want to go out and interact with people. It's designed for those people. Go order it online. You don't even have to go to the store.
Some people need to have jobs. Some people have to leave the house.
Well, then they better learn how to interact with people.
Maybe they like doing exactly what the hell they're doing.
Well, then don't get a job interacting with people. If you don't like it, there's plenty of jobs where you can just do data processing. You don't have to interact with people there.
See, I'm not in the business of fixing these people's lives. If they've found something that gives them a measure of peace that they don't usually have, more power to them. Just like anybody else. If you want to have a lot of sex, or if you want to smoke a lot of weed, or if you want to drink a lot of alcohol,
if you want to wear 10 masks, wear 10 masks.
You want to wear 10 masks,
whatever.
Or you want to only go out at night because you don't like dealing with all the goofy bastards who are out in the daytime, then more power to you.
Yeah.
Fly your freak flag high.
No doubt about it. Like I said, I wouldn't take it away from them, but a lot of these people want to take away my freedom from me. And even though they're not saying it in this article,
that's an orthogonal issue, because there are people, the people who started this thing aren't doing it because they've got social anxiety. These are the guys who can work a room well enough to raise millions of dollars and run for office. Okay, those are the people that are imposing things on you.
Right.
They're a different set of people than the people who just have a hard time being present in their own lives.
It's the control freaks. That's the people you're talking about.
But I don't have to control the control freaks.
Yeah, I don't think the people with the anxiety issues are the control freaks. They're just
not wanting to be yelled at.
Yeah,
and running around trying to control people is a terrible way not to be yelled at, especially if you try to do it to me. But I'm going to save my ire for a category of people that I think might disproportionately do a thing. That's like Cantwell thinking, okay? I'm going to save my ire for the people who are actively trying to impose something on me. And until you've shown me that, I'm not going to put it on you.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. So if these people went to a pro-mask event where they wanted to force masks on you, then you would give them a hard time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because that's different, completely different story.
There's more coming up.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone? You forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection. You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
So again, you can dial in, you can bring up whatever you want. We've been sharing a story that is not only pro-mask, but also interviewing people who believe that mask wearing is actually liberating for them. And we'll share more of that on the way for you here. If you want to join us, again, the number is 603-283-6160. And you can join us online at freetalklive.com. We do have, by the way, a Telegram channel. You can follow Free Talk Live there by going to telegram.freetalklive.com. That'll jump you right into the relevant channel. There's even a chat channel attached to it, so you can get not only the updates from the show, but also discuss them with other Free Talk Live listeners there on Telegram. Go to telegram.freetalklive.com. So, more comments here from the On Air Now chat on our Matrix server, which we'll tell you how to get into here in a little bit. Singularity says, I know people who are too afraid to even leave their house to go shopping still. They may never go grocery shopping in person ever again. And Kenosha Kyle says, sorry, but I'm holding people who get in faces about not wearing a mask and calling the cops on those who don't responsible for forcing this down our throats.
And I absolutely agree that trying to force these things on other people is reprehensible.
Absolutely. It's the use of violence.
But trying to force somebody who wants to wear a mask not to is also reprehensible.
Yeah, it's the use of violence against peaceful people for your particular social or political objective. And in this case, it's a social objective of safety, and safety is often used as the excuse for tyranny.
Great tyranny, for sure.
Yeah, but that's not usually safety from social anxiety.
No doubt. So 603-283-6160 is the number here. They're talking about the Centers for Disease Control says, the lady who wrote the story at StamfordAdvocate.com in the Washington Post says that when the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention told us we should be wearing masks, I went through an exhausting pantomime, gesticulating with my hands and eyes. She says, Marceauing my way into people, pleasing kindness during interviews, grocery checkouts, oil changes because those thick masks hide so much. Eventually, months into this, I began giving up the exaggerated act, and sometimes it felt good. But there are those, also the folks who've spent their lives stared at by others because of physical differences in their faces, who are now finding relief from these first judgments.
I mean, it doesn't even cover your whole face, though. It's only covering your, mouth.
And there are people, as they cite here, that do have issues, right? Like physical maladies that cause problems. So a young woman, Petra Pereira, says, wearing mask means people can't see my facial tics. And I love that. She says, I've always chewed on my tongue ever since I was a kid. I also have a lot of facial acne that masks hide. By the way, there's something called maskne, which is now a thing.
Seems to be the opposite of what you would want to do if you have acne.
Masks are creating acne on a lot of people. But I guess for people that already had really bad acne, then it's not going to make a difference. She
or
says,
somebody who's got a hare lip, somebody who's got... There's all kinds of things that make people, feel self-conscious and less than others.
Acne so bad that random people I meet on the day-to-day feel the need to comment on it and give me advice as if I haven't been to tons of dermatologists. She says I feel much less self-conscious out in public when I'm wearing a mask. Ariel Henley found that a lifetime of standing out with her asymmetrical face and what she described as crooked, wide-set eyes from a craniofacial condition changed once masks became standard during the pandemic. She said, covering my face changed how I was treated in public. During a recent visit to the post office, I stood in line behind strangers, all of whom wore fabric coverings on their faces, and for once, the most noticeable thing about my appearance was not my misshapen eyes, but the vibrant colored mask that did all but cover them. I was grateful for the sense of anonymity and the chance to blend in that wearing a mask provided. And finally, Connie Bullock, age 66, found the same comfort in being able to cover half her face without being stared at. Quote, I started wearing a mask as soon as Dr. Fauci advised the nation to do so. She has stage 4 breast cancer, and the anti-nausea medication she takes to help with chemotherapy treatments gave her another condition, one affecting the nervous system, tardive dyskinesia. She says, mine manifests as a constant contortion of my mouth and tongue twirling, she said. I was mortified to go out in public, which is sad because she has a beautiful, wide-open smile and sparkling eyes. Wearing a mask made her feel comfortable being around others again and gave her great solace. So there's no doubt that for some people who had difficulty being in public previously, that this does make life easier for them. Unfortunately, it has come at the cost of all of our liberties. And so I am not going to be celebrating this. I mean, good for these people that they feel better about going out in public. But for the rest of us that feel oppressed, for the rest of us that feel restricted, that feel controlled by all these mask mandates, these people are not coming to our aid. We say they should be free to wear what they want, but a lot of them do not say the same for us.
Well, that and to the extent that they don't, I mean, I'm guessing if you have, again, crippling social anxiety, you're probably not coming to anybody's aid for any reason. You're probably scared to death.
It sounds like this is a different, a different segment of the population that's also probably very, very small. I mean, what percentage of the population has some sort of facial tics?
I don't know,
or
I don't care.
Deformity. I don't know.
Very small.
I mean, it's. I'm not saying I see people like this, and I am obviously people. I'm sure people stare all the time at such people, because of those differences. But it seems like it's not like it's not a regular occurrence. I mean, it's a rarity that you run into those people, which is why people stare. So.
603-283-6160 if you want to join us.
If you are those people, though, it's not a rarity for you to be run into.
Right. And I can kind of understand from that perspective, this being, a good thing for them. But that doesn't just you don't make it, you don't use violence to achieve your objectives.
But they're not talking about being violent. They're talking about experiencing comfort in situations that many of us would feel uncomfortable.
But how many of them, if polled, would say they support continuing the mask mandates?
I don't know.
Yeah,
and so I'm going to deal with individuals like individuals.
I wouldn't pretend to know, but I kind of have to suspect that it's probably somewhere over 50%, but not.
We don't have anything to base it on.
Well,
we don't know.
Right, and I would take a guesstimate based on there's nothing particular about that group that would suggest it's outside of what you would expect from the general population.
Yeah.
Other than there may be a slightly increased percentage of people wanting to force masks simply because it benefits them. It's self-interest. Self-interest is a good reason.
Most of the people who are wanting to force masks have completely different reasons for it. They want to do it because they want to rob us blind and give that money to their corporate cronies because it's politicians doing this.
They're exploiting us for sure, but
the politicians are doing it because they have the support of a large segment of the population who are afraid and believe that they need the protection of these politicians and the masks.
It's not the victims of the con you should blame.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
Of course, you can bring up anything you want to talk about. We do have our chat server. It's a Matrix chat server, and that means that it is open source. It is self-hosted. It is polycentric and safe from the ravages of big tech. If you are chatting on the Free Talk Live Matrix chat server, then you cannot be censored by Facebook or Twitter or any of these other mega big tech corporations out there. So hop on in. You can go to chat.freetalklive.com and you'll find the step-by-step instructions on how to get over there and get involved, get interactive with other Free Talk Live listeners. Some of the hosts, I believe all 3 of the hosts in the room tonight have accounts on the Matrix chat server or are connected to the Matrix chat server. So hop on in there, chat.freetalklive.com. Federal officers on Thursday repeatedly drove demonstrators away from the Marco Hatfield U.S. Courthouse in downtown Portland in response to fires and damage to the building just hours after a security fence was removed. Dozens of
Was
demonstrators.
it an insurrection?
Good question. Dozens of demonstrators assembled near the courthouse Thursday night, and some of them broke glass at the federal building and lit fires. According to reports from the scene, a large contingent of federal officers responded by deploying impact munitions, tear gas, flashbang grenades, and smoke bombs, according to live stream videos.
They gave him an ass whooping is what they're trying to say.
From independent journalists and others documenting the demonstration, officers drove protesters away from the courthouse in at least 3 distinct pushes. At least one person was detained. Demonstrators and officers remained squared off in front of the courthouse at about 11:30 p.m., and authorities repeatedly said federal property, including the sidewalk surrounding the courthouse, was closed, and those who were on the property were trespassing. Journalist Suzette Smith, a former Portland Mercury editor, reported the demonstration was a continuation of protest efforts from earlier in the day when a group gathered in opposition to the replacement and expansion of an oil pipeline that would go from the Canadian province of Alberta to Superior, Wisconsin. So, kudos to these protesters for continuing after basically months. I mean, because protests obviously kicked off in the summertime. Back in Portland after the killing of, or the police murder of the gentleman in Minneapolis, which
George Floyd
touched off, hundreds of protests all across the country at that point. And Portland was definitely one of the flashpoints. And I don't know how long these protective barriers were up at this particular courthouse, but
that was like a long time.
Yeah, but the same day the barriers came down, the protesters came back. So, kudos to them. Whether we agree or not on their reasons for protesting is another question, but at least they're targeting the right people.
Absolutely.
I think getting shot's a great reason to protest. If people are shooting at you,
I don't think that was it here. They said it was an oil pipeline in this particular case.
Oh, okay.
But they then got shot during the protests by, rubber bullets or whatever it was, the projectiles the police were using.
Oh, okay. I thought for some reason I was thinking Black Lives Matter because of the reference to
no, that's what
George
kicked
Floyd.
off all this. I was just talking about how the protests in Portland, I think, kicked off over the summertime due to the George Floyd situation, and now they're back. Demonstrators at the courthouse protesters say the new corridor would harm watersheds, wild rice lands, and Anishinaabe treaty territories. They argue corporations should clean up an existing old pipeline. Demonstrators also cited the recent dismantling of protections in front of the courthouse. A large security fence had been erected around the building last summer. So, yes, it was months ago. But was taken down earlier Thursday, and proceedings in the case of a former Minneapolis police officer charged in George Floyd's death as reasons that they were protesting on Thursday night, according to the journalist in Portland. Workers put wooden boards on the courthouse windows earlier in the day. So just a quick update for you on what's been going on there in Portland, where protesters are back at it outside of the courthouse there. There is some video, I guess, looks like from nationalreview.com. People set some stuff on fire right outside of the courthouse. I don't know if that counts as, I'm going to say that doesn't count as actually setting the building on fire. The headlines here say
misleading headlines.
Yeah, there were some misleading headlines. Rioters set fire.
There are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are headlines.
Yeah, the headline over at nationalreview.com was rioters set fire to federal courthouse in Portland one day after fencing was removed. But I'm going to say that this doesn't really count.
No, they're going to have to up their game. There should be tar and feathers.
Yeah. I mean, we do want to get the federal government out of here and out of everywhere as quickly as possible. Ultimately, I don't disagree with people, doing these things to federal buildings. I wouldn't advocate it personally, but I sure don't feel bad when it happens.
Yeah, it's I think it's the strategy behind it just doesn't seem to work out in our favor, I don't think.
Well, it's certainly likely not going to put an end to the federal government,
right? And that's part of the problem. It's
can't hurt.
I think there's certainly It certainly has. It's certainly going to have an effect, and if you could keep it up and some other things, there might be some value in it. But
yeah, I guess if you kept it up at all of the federal courthouses simultaneously, they wouldn't be able to have any trials.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, you need numbers, and maybe they can do that in Portland
that's how
for
you
their
build numbers. Though you get out in the streets, and usually what happens that sets off a revolution. Our revolution was a good example. People were angry. People were gathering in the streets. A rumor got around that that there were British troops that were going to steal the supplies from a local militia. A bunch of people gathered there to protest that and to prevent it if they could. And the first man shot was Crispus Attucks, and the rest of the event was called the Boston Massacre. Mm-hmm. And the Boston Massacre, even though the soldiers who fired on the people were actually acquitted of criminal wrongdoing
by the Crown,
by an American jury.
Oh, really?
And they were defended by John Adams, our second president. And the reason was they believed that a reasonable person would be in fear for their life in the situation these people were in. And they probably, yes, because that crowd of people was getting ready to do them dirty. But it pissed enough people off to trigger the American Revolution, or to be a major move in that direction. And that's not the only time that's happened. The Stonewall riots were a result of angry people gathering. In this case, it was about they were angry about gays being arrested and gay bars being shut down. And they got out in the streets, and they got a little rowdy, and the cops came and beat the hell out of them. But instead of backing down, more people started gathering and coming out and fighting back, and they won.
Where was that?
That was in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
That was the time and place that Harvey Milk got famous.
I don't know who that is.
They made a movie about him recently, but he was a major gay rights activist who actually taught me a couple of tricks about activism. For example, there was one time when the crowd at the 420 rally was starting to get a little bit ugly. Like I started to worry about like property damage and that sort of thing. So I marched them. I marched them the hell off the square, and by doing that, I diffused that energy. I learned that from Harvey Milk.
603-283-6160. You can bring up whatever's on your mind here. And there's a little bit of good news. Trust in the military is dropping significantly, according to a new survey. Plus, the IRS cracking down on crypto. Coming up. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us right here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
Coming up, Chris, you're going to tell us about the IRS. Apparently, they've got new schemes afoot to track down and crack down on cryptocurrency users. We can talk about that on the way here. The number again, 603-283-6160. Also, U.S. troops, apparently trust in the military is dropping significantly, which is interesting because just the other day on the show, I was talking about how Americans have the highest respect of all the government agencies out there. You know, they don't like Congress. And they don't like the president, less. I mean, they like Congress the least. The president, I think, is more popular generally. It doesn't matter which president, but generally the president is more popular. And I think the judiciary, I forget whether the judiciary is more or less popular than the president. But then the most popular of all of the sort of sections of government was the military. And now they've seen a significant drop in trust in the U.S. military. And reporting on this is the Military Times. So this is a military publication. MilitaryTimes.com says that trust in the U.S. military has decreased significantly in recent years, but armed forces still remain among the most respected institutions in the country, according to a new public opinion poll released by the Ronald Reagan Institute recently. About 56% of Americans surveyed said they have a great deal of trust and confidence in the military, which is down from 70% just 2 years ago. So to have a drop like that from 70% to 56% is pretty significant statistically.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why that would be the case. I don't think the U.S. military has done anything of significantly, different. What have they done that's changed in the last 2 or 3 years? I mean, I don't really feel like. I mean, besides administering the vaccine or whatever, they're not really.
Have they been doing that?
I've heard that they are set up.
I've heard that said to be in the offing, but I don't know if it's happened.
I have heard that they are setting up vaccine or vaccination sites and operating them. I don't know if that means they themselves are doing the actual shooting. I think they might be just, directing traffic and things like that.
I don't even know what that, like, I have a hard time understanding what that even means. Like, trust the military. I mean, trust them to do what?
Kill people.
Yeah, I guess follow orders blindly.
Kill the right people.
Yeah, it just seems like such a weird question.
Think they get deep in. I don't think they get deeper into it. I think they just ask people rank by 1 through 5, right? If you've ever done one of these phone polls, you only have so many options. Usually, do you trust or not trust, or rank through 1 through 5, 5 for the most trust, 1 for the least trust, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, trust them not to do stuff that's going to hurt us, or
it's not clear.
Like, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I mean, I get the politicians, right? Like, I mean, they're liars and thieves and things like that. So I kind of understand that. Do I trust them to do what's right for us as a society?
No,
and I don't.
Not. Well,
but trust the military to do what's right for society. The military does what they're ordered to do based on the politicians. So
they generally do, but there's certainly an expectation that if, for example, they're given the order to go kill all the gay people, there's an expectation that they're going to say, no, I'm not going to do that.
Well, I don't have, if that's the case, I don't have any trust in the military.
But is that what but he's asking a good question, is what do they mean when they ask, do you trust the military? Are you trusting them to follow orders, or are you trusting them to not follow bad orders?
Right.
I suspect it is not the latter, but then again, if it's an open-ended question, then the answers could be all from all over the place. But nonetheless, I'm going to say it's a good thing that trust is going down.
I think so too.
In the military. The poll includes views of more than 2,500 individuals who were asked the questions in early February. Roger Zakheim, the Washington director of the Institute, the Reagan Institute, said to see this drop is quite a concern. This is not just the events of the past 12 months. We're seeing this trend now. Researchers saw a similar drop in confidence in law enforcement in recent years, which is also good news, down from 50% to 39%. So, wow. Now, I don't know if that's the most recent poll that said it was now down to 39%, but either way, that's good news. They noted even with the military's decreased reputation, the institution still remains regarded very highly among Americans. Only 6% said they had no trust at all in the armed forces. Other institutions, such as public education, ranked in at 21%, saying they had no trust at all. Public health officials, 33%, and Congress, 10%, trailed significantly behind trust levels in the military. Actually, no, this might be overall trust. I'm sorry. This is written sort of confusingly. Anyway, nonetheless, the foundation had compiled the poll in recent years as a way to gauge public opinion on defense issues and help guide policy decisions on those topics. About 74% of those surveyed said they favor increasing military spending, a figure that has remained consistent for recent years. So even though a significant portion of Americans are not as trusting in the military, still the same percentage of them, 74%, say that the budget should increase. So that's kind of confusing. But, people who are answering these polls may not be thinking too hard. Zakheim said the results could be reflective of much of the political turmoil of the last year of former President Donald Trump's term in office, which featured public debate over the role of military in civil disturbance and social justice protests. The full poll results will be released on their website at a later point, reaganfoundation.org, if you want to dig deeper into that poll. Anytime I see news about Americans losing their trust in the government, I got to say it warms my heart a little bit.
Yeah,
Amen.
trusting government is not a good idea. I mean, you're literally electing liars and thieves, and then you're putting into power, cops and law enforcement, which are trained to be liars and thieves if they're not already. So
absolutely true. So if you want to join the show, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. That said, people do still wave the flag. They do still love America. They haven't gotten over it yet. I don't know what it's going to take, how much disagreement it's going to take between the political factions in this country before finally people realize that going their separate ways is the most productive way to handle these disagreements. If you are in an abusive relationship with somebody, you don't stay there.
Nope.
That person's not going to change. The left, the right, they aren't going to come together. It's not going to happen. And so just stop trying to get along. Stop trying to fight over who's going to control each other and just split up. Break it up. Go home. Find a new home. If you find yourself living in an area in which you're surrounded by people who disagree with you, go somewhere else. If you are in a place that is ultra liberal and you don't find yourself to be a liberal, well, then go someplace that's not. Go someplace more red zone. If you are a liberal in a more conservative place and you find yourself uncomfortable there, go to some place that is more liberal. There are places like this, and it's likely you'll be happier there. So
it's true.
Just make the choice to do something different. Maybe you've got a great job. Okay, fine. Then shut up and work your job and don't worry about what's going on around you. Try to ignore it. But if it's just any old job, then you can pick up your life and move somewhere else.
Maybe you can take your job with you.
Maybe you can.
Yeah,
now more than ever you can.
Yeah, right. It's sometimes it's a challenge to accomplish certain things in life, but often pursuing those challenges is well worth the effort. So
absolutely, and it is now easier than ever to do what nobody suggests, and that is say take your job with you. That is one of the benefits of what has happened over the last year.
For many people.
Yeah, for a lot of people, is what a job that was never portable before is now something that they can do from anywhere. Although, did you hear that some companies are actually reducing pay of some of their employees based on where they move?
Right. Yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I mean, a lot of those companies, imagine if somebody had offered you a job in California.
Mm-hmm.
You'd insist on more money, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't say yes.
It's expensive to live there. So yeah, that works both ways. If they're no longer asking you to live in California, they're not going to pay you the, oh my God, I've got to be a miserable bastard and live in California.
Right. Yeah, they actually have different tiers. So different states, different destinations, and that'll rank you based on where you go. And they will reduce your pay based on where you've decided to live. So it's too bad because a lot of people thought they were going to.
They might also increase your pay based on where you live if that's the.
They might.
If the policy is it's based on geography, then you never know.
603-283-6160. But I bet a lot of people were really enjoying getting full pay when they moved out of places like San Francisco, and now that's starting to change. 603-283-6160. If you want to jump in and bring up whatever's on your mind, what do you think these trust numbers with the military really mean? This is Free Talk Live. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A celebration at the White House. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. After his signing of the measure yesterday, President Biden held a Rose Garden ceremony marking the passage of what he calls the American Rescue Plan.
This legislation, everybody's already mentioned, will provide $1,400 in direct payments, which we all promised. Well, that means for a typical family of four, a middle-class family, husband and wife working, making $110,000 a year, that means $5,600 check they're going to get.
The Treasury Department says those payments have already begun going out. The measure also extends its enhanced unemployment benefits and gives millions to cities and towns hit hard by the pandemic. Both senators from New York are now calling for Governor Andrew Cuomo to step down over sexual misconduct allegations.
In a joint statement, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand say New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has lost the confidence of his governing partners and the people of New York and should resign due to multiple credible allegations. Cuomo has been accused of sexual harassment and misconduct by several women. A majority of state lawmakers are calling for the governor to resign, as well as most of New York's congressional delegation. Cuomo told reporters he will not resign and did not do what has been alleged. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says child care facilities can consider reopening if they follow guidelines.
When used consistently and correctly, prevention strategies such as mask wearing, staying home when sick, and good hand hygiene can allow child care programs to operate safely and reduce the spread of COVID-19.
CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky, who says children and anyone entering the child care center should be screened daily for symptoms of the virus, and physical distancing should also be in place. America is listening to Fox News.
Join over 24,000 of some of the fastest growing companies in the world who rely on NetSuite. Just ask Sean Nelson, founder of Lovesac.
We started as a beanbag company in my parents' basement. And the next thing I knew, we were one of the fastest growing furniture companies in the world. Only problem, we still had multiple systems for everything.
NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, inventory, e-commerce, HR, and more.
Lovesac furniture is built to last and infinitely adaptable, just like NetSuite.
Find out how NetSuite can help your company with a free product tour at netsuite.com/relax.
An investigation into the death of a man in police custody in New York State finds city officials kept details hidden.
Daniel Prude died last year after police in Rochester, New York covered his face with a net designed to stop his ability from spitting on officers, and further held him down by kneeling on his back with his face on the ground, while both the mayor, Lovely Warren, and police chief Laron Singletary insisted they didn't know for months Prude had been restrained. An independent investigation finds they did know and intentionally didn't disclose that fact publicly. A grand jury already declined to indict the involved officers. Eben Brown, Fox News.
The state Senate in Kentucky has passed a bill making it a crime to taunt a police officer. Under the legislation, anyone who accosts, insults, taunts, or challenges a law enforcement officer that would have a direct tendency to provoke a violent response would be guilty of a misdemeanor and face up to 90 days in jail and fines. The proposal also increases penalties for rioting. The measure was filed months after protests in Louisville after the police killing of Breonna Taylor. As the Biden administration prepares for face-to-face talks with China next week, the U.S. restated accusation of genocide.
In a speech to the UN's Human Rights Council, American diplomat Mark Kasser said the U.S. condemns what he called China's abuse of ethnic and religious minorities,
including crimes against humanity and genocide.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Fans of the Tour de France will be disappointed to hear that the race has been put on hold for an indefinite amount of time, as many of the world's top cyclists are currently riding over to the creek to check out cool bugs. Our Chad Williams is live in Bergerac, France.
Thanks, Rachel. Roads that should be full of bikers are empty this afternoon. Right now, the riders were supposed to be here, making the climb up the legendary Mont Ventoux, but instead, they rode into the woods after German cyclist Andre Greipel heard that there were a bunch of stick bugs down at the creek, and then everybody wanted to go down there and throw rocks at them. That's when Dmitry Muravyev reportedly skinned his knee but didn't care, and Irish champion Nicholas Roach announced he saw this big weird frog with like an extra arm or something, but it was hard to tell because it hopped away too fast. Race officials have not put a time frame on when the event will pick up again.
People keep saying that this is going to delay the race, but if I know these boys like I think I do, they're going to find some awesome shortcut through someone's backyard.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and as always, you're invited if you want to join us. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio here tonight, you've got Ian
and Chris
and nobody.
Coming up, Chris, you're going to tell us about the IRS. They're targeting crypto users again, and we'll find out what their latest plot is. On the way here. Of course, you can bring up anything that you want. We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. Not only can you call us at 603-283-6160, but also we have our Matrix chat server, which is sometimes pretty useful for nice audio, video conferencing, but sometimes it just doesn't work at all. So, you get what you get. It's a free service. In this case, it's working. Lysander Knapp is with us on the line here, I believe, from Indiana. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, sound loud and clear. Go ahead.
Who's that? So I was reading, it did pass Thursday.
What did?
To enhance I'm sorry, the bill that would criminalize insulting police in Kentucky.
Oh, boy.
Oh, the unconstitutional bill that they...
Blatantly unconstitutional.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere.
Well, apparently it passed.
I mean, it's not going anywhere in the courts. That's going to get shot down probably immediately before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't that's what they said about Wickard v. Filburn.
I don't even think that there's already prior precedent on that one. I don't think
lot of it.
Yeah, I don't think there's even. I don't even think it's going to get thrown out before it even gets to the district court.
And it, by the way, it has only passed. Sorry to say, the Senate. So it has not yet been passed by the House. So it's got a ways to go to get through the whole process. But do you have the details on it here? Because if you don't, I do have some of it pulled up.
Go ahead and go. You take off with it.
It says that under the legislation, anyone who, quote, accosts, insults, taunts, or challenges a law enforcement officer with offensive or derisive words, or by gestures or other physical contact that would have a direct tendency to provoke a violent response.
Most of that's already illegal. It's just the speech part of it that's unconstitutional.
Would be guilty of a misdemeanor and face up to 90 days in jail and fines. Well, now, accosting isn't actual attack. That's just saying something. Insulting is also saying something. Taunting is also saying something. Challenging, again, we're talking about all of this as speech. I don't think any of this is illegal except for physical contact.
Yeah, that's the part that would be illegal.
Yeah.
What I love about this is it's the government admitting that their goons are such petulant children that they would result to violence over insults.
That's right. Yeah, they can't handle.
It's true.
They can't handle, the classic playground wording of sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Apparently the cops never learned that when they still, their poor little feelings are getting hurt and they want to lash out with violence. Well, now they can. They'll arrest you.
Is that how it's supposed to go?
Sticks and stones.
I thought it ended whips and chains excite me.
I think that's the kinky version.
Oh, okay.
It looks like I'm going to have to make a trip to Louisville this summer and have some fun.
Now that's right next door, right? I mean, you're pretty close.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I imagine there will be protests because they'll probably murder someone.
Make sure you have your lawyer on speed dial, at least so you've put his phone number in
your camera,
in your phone or in your head, so you know it by heart. Because they're if they arrest you, you're going to want to have your lawyer ready to go on this one. And Chris, you're right. There's a long history of court cases that have to do with people insulting the police, flipping the bird to the police, calling them names, driving by, playing F the police at the top of their, turning their stereos up, cranking it up. People have been arrested, targeted by the police for all of these things, and every time the police lose.
Yeah, it's and it's kind of interesting because even when they crack down and they can't arrest you for, filming the police, they'll just come up with something else.
That's true.
To get you on because they'll charge you with like disorderly or, one of these other, kind of catch-all offenses that, even after it's been, restricted is still a very catch-all kind of offense. So
I'll be surprised that this doesn't get passed into law. Government's just getting worse and worse.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right.
Anything else you want to share tonight?
I got nearly kicked out of a Staples today for not wearing a mask.
Nearly kicked out.
Wow.
Yes. Well, I was in there to get more labels for, the White Rose stuff.
Nice.
And unfortunately, it's the only place where I could find it. So I did have to put a mask on.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Do you not have internet access?
I guess I could have ordered it. Yeah, I could have ordered it. I just so I might return their product tonight, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Why
did you have to put a mask on? I mean, are they going to kick you out of the store? I've been to Staples without a mask on multiple times.
I said I had an exemption and they're like, we don't care. It's a college town that they're in, so they're super progressive there.
Wow.
They're like we don't care. And so I was just like, whatever.
Amazing.
I threw on my net gator, went and got my labels, and I think tonight I might return their product.
I like it.
Very good. Thanks for the call tonight, Lysander Knapp. Definitely appreciate it here. The number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. I mean, we're in a college town too, but Staples didn't have a problem with it here.
Yeah, I've been to Staples numerous times without a problem. But, it's often management. It's often the decision of management or, just even an employee that's there. It's like it is, it's what it is.
Yep. Some of them really seem to get off on telling people what to do.
Yeah.
603-283-6160. If you want to join us here, the Kentucky bill was passed 22-11, so fairly overwhelming majority passing this. The state house is also controlled by Republicans, so the Senate heavily Republican. They passed this thing. The state house also may pass it, and I do agree with you. The first thing that needs to happen is this thing needs to get challenged. Now, do you need to actually get arrested to challenge laws like this, or is there
for standing? Wouldn't you have to be arrested to have standing to challenge it?
Wow.
Yeah, I think you would.
Well, I guess people need to hit the streets in Kentucky and just start flipping off every cop left and right because if you want to put this thing to the test, then that's the only way that it's going to work out.
I can only imagine it gets to court and it's like there's already prior precedent. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, a ton of it.
Yeah, there's so much prior precedent. It's like, and you know what? It won't surprise me if you win basically, and then they appeal it. and it just keeps going back and forth, like all the way up to the, like a state Supreme Court or something like that before, it's like they'd stop appealing.
Well, plus a lot of this is whenever you see the politicians doing laws that are clearly unconstitutional like this, it's just political pandering, really,
yeah, absolutely.
Is what it is. Because they know it's going to get overturned, but it's no skin off their back. There's no punishment for the politicians for passing an unconstitutional law.
This reminds me of, I think it was one of the 6 bills was like the Child Online Protection Act in the 90s. Reminds me very much of that. I don't even remember what it was about exactly, but it was just like they just kept throwing it out, and it's like, why do you keep passing this legislation? And I don't know if that's the one where they make you. I don't even know. That might be like one of the ones where it's like you have to check a box that says you're over 13 or whatever to access a website or something like that.
Yep.
It might have been that one, or it might have been something else, or no, maybe it was. No, I think maybe it was a porn one. So you had to enter a credit. I don't know if people remember this, but you had to enter a credit card number in order to access pornography, at least some pornographic websites in the 90s for a little while. Yeah, and I mean, obviously it only applied to U.S. companies, so you could still access porn sites. But in the 90s, they threw out basically that law, and then they kept passing the law again and again and again. I think. It might have been that one.
Right. Because there's no punishment for the politicians who pass unconstitutional things.
Right.
And it happens at all levels. So here you've got the Kentucky politicians, and in Keene, where we live in New Hampshire, they passed an illegal ordinance against spice years ago. The sort of synthetic cannabis or whatever you want to call it, the synthetic drugs that were very popular several years ago.
Didn't the lawyer, the city's lawyer, even say
told
that this
it's illegal?
Yeah, it's not even legal.
Told them this isn't going to survive in court.
If anybody
they did
ever
it
fights
anyway.
it, yeah.
They did it anyway because there's no punishment for them. It doesn't matter if it gets overturned. It's not like any kind of, it's not like they have to do time in jail when they make these illegal laws. So what'll happen is it'll get overturned, and then the Republican politicians can make a big bunch of political hay about how the courts are against the police and how dare they, overturn their great law to protect our fine officers. 603-283-6160. You can join us on Free Talk Live.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com. Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need. A WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you're invited if you want to join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
As always, you're invited to join us. You can also call through our Matrix chat server. Go to chat.freetalklive.com. You can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners there. You can also call into the show. And you can bring up anything. We're going to go back to your calls and thoughts here in a moment. But also, I want to make sure you know about ForkFest. It's coming up, and it'll be here before you know it. We're talking about maybe just over 3 months at this point before ForkFest is here.
Yippee-ki-yay.
So if you aren't planning yet, you ought to get to planning real soon by going to forkfest.party and learning more about the event there. There's now a calendar, by the way, user created. Somebody, one of the folks who's been to, I think, all of the ForkFests or most of the ForkFests, has put together a calendar. Now, it is still centrally administered, meaning that if you've got an event you want to be up on the calendar, you do have to contact the calendar owner, and there are instructions on how to do that. So if you go to forkfest.party and click on the calendar page, you'll see there's a link to details on how to get something listed on that calendar. I think at some point there's been another ForkFester who's been talking about writing an app that would allow crowdsourced calendar entries, that sort of thing. So I don't know if that'll come to fruition this year, but there's all kinds of people throwing in their talents that have not, added technical talents to the pool so far. So we've seen the AnyPay boys, for instance, made forkfest.com, where it's an actual map.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
The map.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's. I love how it's. I know you're not. I know the calendar is centrally maintained by an individual, but I like the fact that the event itself is very decentralized in a sense where different people control different things. Correct. And there's not a board controlling what happens
no one
or
made
organizing
this
it or anything,
except for the individual who made the calendar. He didn't have to go and ask permission.
Right. And there's different people over the years, and sometimes we've had competing calendars even.
We have. There was one year where that happened.
Yeah, so I think it's a great event. I think it's
experimental in a lot of ways.
It is what people make of it. Is effectively what it is, and people have made great things of it. So it's one of the best events that I would say the best event I go to, but I don't go to any events except for basically ForkFest now because of the pandemic and
all of the Linux conferences you've gone to are completely over. Have you heard any rumblings?
There is one event at least that is supposed to happen.
Where?
Southeast Linux Fest.
And where's that normally happen? Florida?
That happens in North Carolina.
Okay.
And
was canceled last year.
It was So the guy behind it.
Normally it's summertime. When does it normally happen?
It happens in the summertime, actually, right around the same time as Fork Fest, which I've actually had issues because I've had to fly.
That's right, I remember that.
I've had conflicts with this exact event. But Jeremy, basically, the founder, is a libertarian, actually, and so he really wanted to do it, but he didn't have a choice because, like, it is a board. There is a board, and they kind of he's relying on other people too. So it's not just his decision, effectively, even though he's the organizer, basically.
So it's not going to happen, or it may happen.
Well,
or?
it was canceled at the last minute, basically last year, but he didn't want to cancel it, and it's still planned for the summer. So unless he can't make it happen, because he doesn't have the support of his team that organizes it.
Now, where is it going to happen? Do they know? Because getting a venue's got to be really difficult.
That's a good question. I mean, so this is North Carolina, and I don't think they're particularly strict in that area, in that state, about like the whole, the masks and everything else. So I suspect the issue is probably mostly not in the event space itself arena, but actually just other people who are participating in organizing the event. So if they have it, I'm planning to go.
Go.
Yeah, I'll definitely go. And it's not scheduled to conflict this year, fortunately, with Fork Fest. So I could go to both events.
All right, perfect.
And have a good time. And I didn't realize the last time I did Fork Fest, the last time the Fork Fest went on where it was conflicting, I didn't realize that I had conflicting events. So otherwise I wouldn't have put it in. The only reason I ended up going to the event at all, Southeast, was because I had to talk at the event. So because I was giving a talk, I felt like I had to be there. I said I was going to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to back out. And I know people do all the time, and it was a good thing they went because there was actually a lot of people who came to the talk. So,
well, I hope it happens because I just want more things for people to do. I hope that the Linux Fest actually goes forward.
Oh yeah, nice. I hope so too. I think I suspect there's probably a better chance this year of it happening than last.
I bet they'll have to plan for very small turnout though.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's probably a better chance of it happening this year if I had to speculate, because last year, there was no preparation for, okay, well, if so-and-so decides he doesn't want to come or whatever, well, you can't deal with that at the last minute. But
when you say so-and-so, you mean like a speaker?
An organizer, or people who assist the organizer, basically, because there's a team of people doing it.
Sure.
And if you don't have enough of the people on the team, if they're all backing out at the last moment,
that's a problem.
You have nothing to do. There's nothing you can do. You just have to cancel the event. And I think this year, already who's going to back out and who's not, and you can try and get other people to help fill in and stuff. Whereas last year, you couldn't do that because it was just too last minute.
Good point. So check out forkfest.party if you want to plan. Write down these dates: June 28th through July 4th. Although I would recommend that you contact Rogers Campground as soon as possible and lock in your RV site or your camping site or your motel room. I'm not going to say it's going to be a sellout because, it hasn't been that big over the years.
I mean, you could have 4,000 to 5,000 people on that campground easy.
You could. There's a lot of room for growth.
Except for the lack of toilet facilities.
Yeah, that's a problem.
We definitely need more porta potties.
Yeah, probably if you go over 1,500, you need additional porta potties and things like that.
There's a lot of room for growth. There's no doubt about that. But this may be the biggest year. I mean, there's a lot of people who have been talking about attending this year that previously I've never seen their names before, that kind of thing. So it seems like there's a lot of new interest.
Yeah, that's always good. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have a good feel of who's going, but I certainly know that there's definitely people who have put themselves on the map at anypay.com.
No, it's forkfest.com.
Forkfest.com. Sorry.
Which is different from forkfest.party.
It's the AnyPay. The people behind AnyPay, I believe, are the ones maintaining that website, forkfest.com. But it's a great website to tell people where you are going to be on the campground. Which campsite did you reserve? Because once you know that information, you can kind of plan around. Do you want to be in an area where there's a lot of noise happening, or do you want to be a little bit further away? And it's a big campground, so you can get an idea of. You can go someplace that's closer to the activity, but not so far, because you don't want to end up on the opposite side of the campground. It's a big campground. It's
a long walk.
So yeah.
Check it out, forkfest.party. You can go there, and again, we'll see you there because Free Talk Live will be broadcasting from the event. We will look forward to it. I imagine a lot of people just want to get out. They want to get out of where they are and and come hang around some people that are actually of like mind, and there's no better place to do it than Porkfest. And the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which also happens the week prior to that. So you got 2 weeks. Come on out for both. We continue here. Your calls, your thoughts, welcome. Also, the IRS targeting crypto users again. Chris has the update on the story. We'll share that with you. Plus, you can bring up anything you want here. 603-283-6160. And this is Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
We've got Today Now's medical expert, Dr. Kareem Mazari, here to give us some tips on how to convince a stubborn little guy to take off his Spider-Man costume and start wearing normal clothes so people don't think he's a weirdo. And also joining us is my son Spencer, still dressed as Spider-Man. Spencer?
Hi, Mom. I find the best thing to do is to try and have a dialogue with your child. Now, Spencer, why won't you take your costume off?
Because then people will know my true identity.
You're not even wearing the mask. People already know who you are.
Well, bargaining can work. Explain to your child.
Is it not enough that I say take off the Spider-Man costume? Now I've got to bargain with my own child? Jesus Christ.
You know,
Spencer, sit down. Sit down. Do you want to be put in the silence trunk again? You don't like the silence trunk, do you?
Okay.
I'm Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man.
Spencer, sit down right now. Sit down, you little face, or I will break the rest of your toys on purpose. Do you understand me?
This is the Onion News Network.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, you can bring up what you want here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And, of course, you may take control of the airwaves. That's the point of the show. That's what we do here. Our website, freetalklive.com. You can go there. You can interact with us and other Free Talk Live listeners on our social networking site, which is a Mastodon-based site, which means it is not controlled by big tech. It is self-hosted. It's federated, so it's connected with thousands of other Mastodon-based sites, and you can post to it. Post your social media updates, tag people, and follow people. That whole thing, we got that. You can go to social.freetalklive.com to join it. You can download a myriad of different apps for various different devices that you can use to follow the people that you want to follow. Check it out at social.freetalklive.com. We go to your calls and your thoughts. Joe is first up in Michigan. Joe, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Yeah, did you guys happen to see Biden on television the other day? He had two different colored masks on, so you could see that he was wearing two masks.
No, I didn't. I don't watch television generally, but I totally believe you.
Yeah, and like that article you guys were talking about, I 100% believe that's just people virtue signaling, man.
Now, which article? I'm sorry, which one?
The one about people saying, "Oh, my life's better," because I like wearing the mask. I hope we can do it forever and all this junk.
I mean, I don't doubt.
Well,
that
they can do it forever.
I don't doubt that it's true that somebody who has a some sort of a tick where their mouth or their tongue is doing something that they can't control and it's attracting a bunch of attention they don't want. I don't doubt that person believes they have a better life. I mean, I'll give them that. That's probably true.
Well, I think we're social animals. That's part
true.
of our evolution. And once people are only wearing these masks because they have to, or they feel like they have to. And once it stops, you're going to be the odd man out with a mask on your face. And,
do you think it's going to stop?
Yeah.
Well, I just came from the grocery store, and the only people, I mean, there were a couple people in there, but the only other people in there were the people that worked there had masks on.
Okay.
So,
what part of Michigan?
I was over in Hudsonville area, but I live in Grand Rapids. But,
okay.
That's more of a conservative area, so maybe a lot of it's where you're at, I guess.
Yeah.
But they can't keep this going forever, dude. I mean,
don't know, man. The propaganda is that they're going to, right? So on one hand,
they think they're going to, but I'm telling you, people don't believe the news. The news lies. The news is the propaganda outlet for the government.
Well, I don't believe the news, but people seem to be falling for that propaganda, right? So, I mean, it's different apparently where you are, but around here in the so-called live free or die state, I see a ton of people wearing masks.
I mean,
but they're not doing propaganda.
I mean,
tell people that they have social anxiety or that they've got a facial tick.
I think
we make all kinds of accommodations in society for disabled people and stuff, but man, we can't change you can't force people to wear stuff over their face because somebody has social anxiety.
They didn't say we should force other people to wear things over their face.
They're saying
that. I feel more comfortable when I wear something over my face.
Yeah.
And you can do that. You can wear a burqa. You can wear a Guy Fawkes mask. You can wear makeup. You can wear cat ears. You can wear whatever the hell you want. It's not going to bother me a bit.
I got you. That's what the people in the article were saying. But what I hear Joe referring to is the mandates. What I hear Joe referring to...
But that's a different set of people.
I don't know if it's that different. There's probably some crossover between them, but
probably,
but
small percentage.
Yeah, well, I don't know what percentage. I'm not going to say how many of them.
Well, there are probably some Jewish people who are misers too. That doesn't mean we should judge all of them by that.
Yeah.
Without the force, it's just like most of these laws, man. Without the force of fines or penalties or jail time, nobody's going to follow them.
Except the people who feel more comfortable wearing a mask.
But that's the problem here is
most
of the
they
people...
can wear them, but the rest of society...
That's the problem, though. Most of these people who are wearing them, who don't want to wear them, are the problem. They're the ones who
They're the ones forcing everybody else to do it.
No.
The people with social anxiety? No. The government.
Yeah.
Government is running the scam. The fact that some people feel more comfortable with their face covered is an orthogonal issue.
I don't think they're going to be able to keep this up. I really don't. I mean, it's already gone on a year now. I mean, it's going to have to.
But the propaganda is continuing. They're saying that even when people get vaccinated, they're going to have to keep wearing masks. They say that even when they get vaccinated, they have to keep doing social distancing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a limit to how long this is going to be able to be sustained. I totally understand that it's being done right now, and it's kind of amazing that they managed to keep it up as long as they have.
Yeah.
But it kind of declined, and then it kind of went back up, and then it's kind of declined again. I think we've had different levels of cooperation amongst the general population, and I think in Keene, it's particularly in some ways bad relative to other parts of New Hampshire, because this is a very lefty kind of area.
It is.
But but I have to say, even in Keene, most of the people I interact with are not wearing masks. But I'm also
you're
amongst
interacting with libertarians.
So I don't. Yeah, I mean,
that's not the truth. At the store, I was at Walmart today. It was total compliance,
and that's what
Except for me
that's
and Bonnie.
exactly what I was trying to say right now. Is that there's been different level of compliance, with the general population, even in a lefty town like this.
Barely. It's barely.
It's definitely gone up and down.
It's 90. Yeah, maybe over the last year.
That's what I mean. Over the past year,
it's been
fluctuated
solid for the last several months.
And if you look at people's going outside, for a long time there was nobody on the roads, and now it's almost back to what it was a year and a half ago.
That's true.
So I don't know. I don't think people can keep this up forever. And I think we've already seen the fact that people have gone out and the roads are busy again.
I hope you're right, Chris. I really do.
I just don't think it can be sustained. It's just people eventually will, and I think they've already to a large degree kind of not been as careful with the masking as they were before.
The reality is what Joe said, though, is that most people are waiting to be told it's okay to take the mask off.
It's
They're
true.
Waiting to where they know that there's not going to be some sort of legal penalty because they're afraid of what the government might do to them. Right, Joe? You think people out there want to remove the masks, but they're just too cowardly to take on the government, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. It's the point, they just don't want the hassle, and
that's it.
In some states you have fines and stuff, but
do you?
I don't know, man. It's
what's the penalty in Michigan? What happens if you don't wear a mask in Michigan?
I believe it was initially like $500 fine, but I don't think that stuck. I think that changed, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, so far I have yet to hear of anyone being penalized for wearing a mask in New Hampshire.
Is there a penalty?
I don't know anybody
wearing a mask.
I don't know anybody that's been penalized or nothing. I've been yelled at a few times, but
there's a lot of yelling going on.
Yeah, it's mostly social pressure and corporate pressure.
The only places that I've heard of a fine being issued were New York City or something like that.
Miami, I heard some in Miami. I know a guy in California who did actually receive a fine. So it has happened in some of the most.
I'm surprised for Florida because Florida is not very, very massive.
I don't know about Florida. The guy I know is in California. Did I say Florida?
You said Miami.
Well, Miami, they did have mask enforcement squads. That much they did.
That's interesting because I was under the impression that they did not.
That's different than Florida.
So it was city by city in Florida. Yeah. So Florida didn't have a rule, but certain cities did. Okay,
Correct.
I follow you.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, they actually had a squad of cops going around ticketing people. They probably still do. Joe, thanks for the call. I hope to hear more good news. I appreciate the optimism. I do. But unfortunately, if it's people that are just waiting for the government to say it's okay, then that just means as soon as the government says it's not okay anymore, they're going to just they're going to mask up again. And that's the problem. The problem is the obedience. If people weren't so damned obedient, then we would not have this problem at all. Then there would be nothing they could do about it because there would be a ton of people not wearing masks and they wouldn't be able to lock everybody up.
Yeah.
It would be impossible. All right, more coming up here. You can join us 603-283-6160 in the remaining moments of Free Talk Live, which are on the way. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. it called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, open phones. If you want to join us, the number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
You can bring up anything here. We're going to go back to your phone calls and your thoughts. We will continue with those. And the number again, 603-283-6160. Don't forget to join us at freetalklive.com. You can download archives there that go back for more than a decade, all completely free at freetalklive.com. We go to your calls and thoughts. We've got Courtney on the line with us here. She's actually called in through the Matrix chat server, which you can join over at chat.freetalklive.com.
Nice.
We had a few callers from there tonight. They've all sounded pretty great. Courtney, go ahead.
So my issue right now is I ended up getting out of jail, and they supposedly stuck me on
Courtney, you
probation.
got to talk right into that microphone. I see you now. Okay, you're sitting down. Go ahead.
Okay. I got placed on probation after I got out of jail. When I went in 3 months later, I asked them if I could get my probation, like what I needed to do for probation. And apparently they never had me in the system as being on probation, even though I was doing the drug screens and everything else.
Huh.
When she found that out, they ended up sending me something in the mail to go into court. So then when I finally did go into court, they decided to place me back on probation, even though I've been doing it now for 6 months, and then added another year to it.
Wow.
Why did you
Even
tell
though there
them?
was nothing in the system stating I was on probation for the last 6 months, period.
So they've been treating you like you were on probation for 6 months. You weren't on probation in their system. Now that they've found out about it, they've gone ahead and given you an extra year on top of the 6 months you already had. What was the sentence of probation when you got out? Was it 1 year? What was the original sentence?
Actually, it was supposed to be that I wasn't on probation whatsoever. When I went down to the courthouse and went to go pay my fines, she stated to me that I was supposed to go in and see my probation officer and that I had missed a sit down with her. So when I went in and finally sat down with her, she goes, "Yep, you got to do, all these classes. You got to do counseling, this, that, and the other thing." And I was doing it for 6 months. And then when I sat down and asked her, I said, "Can I get a copy of, what I'm supposed to perform with my probation with you guys? Because I never gotten anything from you." And then that's when I found out I wasn't even on it. So then they rescheduled me a court hearing. I went in, I saw the judge, and then they gave me a year of probation, even though I wasn't supposed to have anything once I got out of jail.
And what was the jail term for in the first place?
I was in there for 3.5 months.
And what was it for?
I had a misdemeanor charge of drunk and disorderly.
Wow.
Drunk and disorderly, 3-month jail sentence. Now on probation for 18 months?
Correct.
Did you have criminal history prior to this? Did you have other drunk and disorderly charges or anything else prior?
Nothing. I've never had anything prior.
That seems like a really harsh
That is
sentence
harsh.
for, drunk and disorderly. I mean, if there was some sort of violence or some other charge in there, assault or something like that, maybe I could understand that.
Yeah,
but
you didn't destroy any property or, hurt somebody?
Nothing. And actually, when I got charged with a drunk and disorderly, I was actually in my house when they took me to jail.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You had called in about this previously,
Yes.
right?
And this is what I was explaining to you guys. So then I went to jail for 3.5 months, got out.
Wasn't this, sorry to interrupt, wasn't this because your child actually got out of the house while you were drunk at home? Then what happened after that was the cops found the kid out and about. It was, if I recall, an autistic child. He was walking to his babysitter's house, going somewhere he knew, and the cops came, snatched him up, acted like there was some sort of terrible thing happening, came to your house, found you in a drunken state, and then charged you. Is that right?
How old is this? How old was the child?
He was 7 at the time. He's 9 now.
Now, is he very autistic or just a little bit autistic?
No,
because
he's
there's
on the right. He's on the autistic spectrum. He's the he can talk. He knows how he knows his directions. I mean, he's on the higher spectrum. So the lower spectrum means you're not able to verbally talk.
Right.
Right, and he's on the higher part.
I mean, that just seems ridiculous.
So he would have been able to get to the babysitter's house had he been left alone.
Oh yeah.
This sounds ridiculous.
Plenty of times.
Did they?
And then after when they took me to jail, I was like, I don't understand why you guys are taking me to jail. I'm in my house, and a drunk and disorderly is me being outside in public, and I'm basically threatening you guys or putting you in harm's way or myself, and I didn't even do that. And I still got 3.5 months in jail.
I mean, if the condition of if the law says that you have to be in public and you're not in public, how did they come to that conviction? Like, what was the excuse that they gave you? And then what was the excuse for the probation that you weren't even supposed to have originally? Like that they then added on after the fact.
Well, see, the funny thing is when CBS decided to come over to the house and walk in, I told them to get the fuck out because I didn't want.
Right.
There was already a bunch of cops in my house.
Right.
So because I was swearing, upset, and because they couldn't find a judge at 11 o'clock at night to sign off on a removal order to take my kids at that time, the only way that they could remove my kids, because I was the only person at the house, was to place me in jail. So they stuck that charge on me to place me in jail, to remove my kids, and now I'm in this big old.
And how did you get convicted? Did you take a guilty plea?
I was trying to fight it, and at that time, the court-appointed attorney that I had was like, well, if you take the plea, then it might look better on you because you're only going to get probation because you don't have and then when I finally went up and I pled no contest. I didn't plead guilty.
Oh, geez.
The judge basically threw the book at me and gave me 3.5 months for it. And then on the summary from the jail, it doesn't state anything on there of that I needed to do probation afterwards.
So this was a court-appointed attorney. This was a public defender.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have fought those charges based off of a quick glance of the law. I think you would have seen right away that you were in the right and that the charges were baseless. And the lawyer should have looked at that. I mean,
he's a public defender. His job is to get people to take a guilty.
Public pretender.
Yeah, their job is to get people to talk people into taking a guilty plea so they don't have to, spend any time doing any work. They don't actually have to defend a case. They don't have to look at the case. They just.
I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? They find you guilty and you spend 3 months in jail. You might not even get any jail time at all, even if you are found guilty.
Well, she was because, she said no contest.
Yeah.
Stay basically the same distance.
Yeah, right.
Difference. Right. So you're currently on that probation right now, Courtney?
Yep, they just did that. I'm actually going to put in a motion of appeal for that order because I don't think I should have gotten probation, period, especially when it was never in the system after I got out of jail. So I don't understand how that even, transpired to begin with when I was sitting in the courtroom and then he asked me to come up.
Wow, I'm amazed you can even sit in a courtroom. I mean, most of these courtrooms are completely closed down in a lot of places. I'm surprised they're actually even having in-person hearings.
And this happened over this past year, or?
The charge that I got was June of 2019.
Oh, 2019.
I didn't get. Yep, and then I didn't get sentenced until July 22nd.
Yeah, we got to let you go. We're losing your signal, but thank you for the call tonight. I definitely appreciate it. Let's go to Scott. He is the bigot in Florida. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Scott.
Good evening, Ian, Chris, and nobody. I hope you're all right tonight. I'll make my my case short and sweet. I honestly want to believe that 2021 will be the overthrow of our evil Zionist-occupied government. And I jotted down a few notes. 70, 80 million unemployed Americans, hungry, homeless. 1,400 stimulus is chump change. That's a joke. That's a sick joke. A stock market crash is not if it will happen, it's when it will happen. It has to pop. The sooner the better. Hyperinflation has to set in because they're printing up so much money. We're going to become like Weimar Germany. It has to. Then you've got, they destroyed our First and Second Amendment rights.
I'm telling you, the best thing you can do, in my opinion, thank you, Scott. I wish we had more time. We don't. We're out of time for tonight. The best thing you can do with that $1,400, I'm not an investment advisor, but if I were you, I'd put it into crypto. That's what I'd do. What about you, Chris? What'd you do?
It wouldn't be a bad idea.
Check out Chris on his website, freedomdecrypted.com, and Nobody at electnobody.com. He's got a show coming up on our video channels in about a half hour, so stay tuned to those.
It's true. Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Questioning Authority is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Celebrating the signing. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Surrounded by congressional Democrats in the Rose Garden, President Biden marked the passage of the nearly $2 trillion coronavirus relief package.
What you shepherded through the Congress not only meets the moment, it does even more. It's historical, and they call it transformational.
The bill includes a new round of stimulus payments for most Americans. The Treasury Department says the processing of those payments has already started, and some people may get them as soon as this weekend. Two more high-profile Democrats calling on New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to step aside.
New York Senators Kirsten Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer are calling on Governor Andrew Cuomo to resign, reversing course due to, quote, the multiple credible sexual harassment and misconduct allegations. They went on to write that the governor has lost the confidence of his governing partners and the people of New York. 24 congressional lawmakers, the majority of the New York delegation, now calling for his resignation, including prominent Democrats like Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jamal Bowman, House Oversight Chair Carolyn Maloney, and House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler.
Fox's Brian Yennis in New York City. This morning, a seventh woman claimed Cuomo touched her inappropriately. Her first-person account in an article in New York Magazine. The New York Attorney General's office and the state legislature are both conducting investigations into the allegations. The FDA is warning health professionals about the risk of false positive results with a widely used lab test for COVID-19 and flu made by drug maker Roche. It says health workers should test samples multiple times for accuracy. AMC Entertainment says it will start reopening its locations in Los Angeles, starting with 2 theaters on Monday. AMC is the world's largest cinema operator. America is listening to Fox News.
Are you running a business? Then why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office 24/7. With Stamps.com, you get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
There's a racial divide in how people are faring during the pandemic.
A new poll out finds people of color are bearing the economic brunt of the coronavirus pandemic. An Associated Press Nork Center poll shows compared with white Americans, Black and Hispanic Americans are more likely to have experienced job and other income losses. That overall, 62% of Hispanic Americans and 54% of Black Americans, compared with 45% of white Americans, have suffered suffered those losses. The toll's not just economic. Black and Hispanic Americans are also more likely than white Americans to say they're close to someone who died from COVID-19. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Top official at the World Health Organization says the ongoing Ebola outbreak in Guinea suggests it may have begun by a survivor of the Ebola epidemic that ended in West Africa 4 years ago. Dr. Michael Ryan says more studies will be needed, but said the current outbreak is not likely linked to an animal. There are 18 cases of Ebola in Guinea to date. The outbreak that began in 2014 killed more than 11,000 people. The cost of keeping National Guard troops in D.C. is rising.
The Guard now says it will be forced to spend an additional $111 million to keep 2,300 troops in D.C. for 2 more months. An extension approved by the Defense Secretary against the recommendation of the Guard's top general. The total cost for the deployment has skyrocketed to over $520 million.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
An innovative new smartphone app funded by the GOP is set to streamline voter discrimination in key swing states. With more on this fascinating story, we go to Jason Copeland.
Well, thanks, Andrea. You know, a new election means a new set of racist voting laws in battleground states, causing long delays and chaos at the polls. But does it have to be so cumbersome? This year, the exciting new Vote Right app aims to help minorities avoid the hassle by stripping away their vote right in the palm of their hands. The Vote Right app is incredibly user-friendly. When you register, you first enter a set of personal information and take a photo of your skin. Vote Right immediately makes rash generalizations about you, and these are just some of Vote Right's intuitive new features. Real-time updates on the bullshit red tape preventing you from registering, and even a video of a condescending white woman who will scream at you from the phone rather than in person at the polling station.
This isn't a food stamp line, sir. You need ID.
This is the Onion News Network.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So now here's the awkward few minutes where I wait to see Ian's text to say that I'm either too loud or I'm not even, there's no audio, there's dead air. But I'm just going to begin as if there's no issue and everything is fine, because we finally set up the system this past week. I want to thank Ian for doing that. So in theory, I'm able to take calls. I'm very hesitant. Let's see here. Yep. All right. Default device. Yep. We're all good. So, okay. So in order to, if you want to call in, and be, I guess, our first tester, because I did test it off air with another listener on the Discord, calling on the QA group Discord. So we're just going to, just, test it, see how, or test it in real time. So in order to get there, unfortunately, I don't have enough people in there to be able to get a fancy a fancy link, right? Like, what was I forget what the one for the LRN group was, but so you're gonna have, if you want to join the on-air call-in line and get the link to the Discord of the QA group, you have to go to you have to go to dlive.tv/Shire Media and then click in the description below, right? Scroll down to the description for the show, and you will see the link to the Discord. So at the beginning and end of every segment, I'm just going to check the call-in lines here, make sure no one's waiting, and go from there and can talk about stuff in the meantime. So I'm trying to get away from the, at least on the Saturday shows, I'm trying to get away from the political soap opera, right? Especially since it's much more problematic playing audio right through Mumble and having to juggle all this shit. One day, eventually, but I like to use that as an excuse to reserve Saturdays for more word-heavy pieces, more discussion and such, and just more intelligent discussion. Like, I'm thinking I need to I enjoy the way the show is, right? Just sort of a casual atmosphere of it, but. Yes, and that's not audio distortion. That's me fiddling with shit because I'm a spaz, right? I have it's like I remember you see all these fidget spinners and stuff kids have and things, and I'm like, oh, that's ridiculous. But here, what am I playing with? I'm playing with a flash drive keychain. I'm playing with 2 pens. I have this 12 gauge shell that's just been sitting on here that I keep playing and picking at the firing pin, or not the firing pin, the primer. Every show, just waiting for for something to happen, and dropping it too, right? You might hear a crash and then me shouting, "God damn it!" That's usually me dropping the cartridge. But to each their own. So we're gonna begin. Bill Clinton bagman Doug Band provides evidence to feds investigating ties to Epstein, Madame Ghislaine Maxwell. This is from Radar Fresh Intelligence, radaronline.com, never heard of it. I got this link from revolver.news, which is trying to be the successor to the Drudge Report, since the Drudge Report just totally jumped the shark. And is basically to what the left it was to the right. Now, where you go on Drudge Report and it's praising Biden, it's fear-mongering about the pandemic, fear-mongering against people who care and support freedom. It's very sad to see. So anyways, what one thing I really like about Revolver is that if they link to a paywall site, right, like Wall Street Journal or New York Times or, apparently this Radar Online, it looks like they would link a snapshot from I guess this looks like archive.org, right? You could archive web pages, and so that's what they do to get around the paywall. So that is really cool, and I definitely appreciate that. So we're going to be reading some stuff that we wouldn't normally I wouldn't normally read on the show, because I don't want to have to spend the money, right, to essentially enable bad behavior. So yeah, let's all thank revolver.news. I'm raising my my very full wine chalice. All right, so let's begin. Bill Clinton's former body man turned aide, Doug Band, has turned whistleblower in the federal sex trafficking investigation involving Ghislaine Maxwell. This was published on March 4th, by the way. Involving Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and provided Justice Department officials with evidence that could implicate his one-time boss. The notoriously tight-lipped Band, 48, stunned Clinton world by agreeing to an interview with Gabriel Sherman for Vanity Fair's December issue. In addition to detailing his ties to Epstein and Maxwell, he also confirmed that the 42nd president of the United States visited Epstein at his hedonistic compound in the Caribbean, known to many as Pedophile Island, or Pedophile Island, if you're not from the UK. Clinton traveled to Little St. James with Epstein in January 2003, according to Band. Just a few months after the two men spent 10 days touring Africa. Oh, gee. I wonder what they'd be doing touring Africa. And, it's funny, too, all the times Bill Clinton would speak out against slavery, and yet he's, probably, he's hanging out with a literal human trafficker in Africa. So that's pretty ironic. The timing of Band's interview was a bit confounding. It landed a week after his juicy tell-all hit newsstands, and he later announced that he was stepping down from a consulting firm he founded to devote more time to his family, teaching, and some private investing projects. Radar has now learned that this is also around this time that Clinton's bagman for close to 2 decades spoke with criminal investigators from the Southern District of New York. This makes him the first. And now, just think of how powerful Epstein must have been if this has been, if people have known about this, especially in law enforcement, for 2 decades. This makes him the first Epstein-Maxwell associate who is known to have cooperated with authorities in the most recent probes into the accused pedophiles. Band became fast friends with Epstein and Maxwell back in 2002, a time when he was at the height of his powers due to his role as a key architect of Clinton's career post-White House. Band first showed up on Epstein's flight manifest in March of that year when he flew from the JFK airport in New York to London with his boss, Epstein, Maxwell, Sarah Kellen, and 3 Secret Service agents. Kellen would later be identified as both a recruiter and a victim of Epstein, but unlike most victims, she was over the age of 18 when she first met the pedophile. The same group returned to JFK 2 days later on a private jet infamously called the Lolita Express. They were joined for that trip by an additional 7 Secret Service agents and Band's one-time girlfriend, British supermodel Naomi Campbell, who's been in a bunch of movies and shit. So that just shows where associating with pedophiles could get you. Later, Band and Clinton flew around Asia with Epstein, country hopping from Japan to Hong Kong, China to Singapore, and to Thailand over the course of 4 days. The men did not stay on with Epstein as he then traveled to Brunei, or however you pronounce that, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Dubai. Kellen and Maxwell again joined the man. The most infamous of these trips, however, came in September of 2002 when Band joined Epstein and Clinton as they made their way through Africa. And so apparently that guy, there's pictures of him sitting between Bill Clinton and Hillary. And apparently he was a top confidant. Much has been made of the fact that the Hollywood stars Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker were also on that trip, but it is likely the 4 other guests who are of interest to federal prosecutors: Kellen, Cindy Lopez, Shantae Davies, and Andrea Mitrovic. Never heard of any of them. Davies, though not underage, was another one of Epstein's victims. She would eventually recruit her younger sister for the pedophile and grew close to Clinton on the trip, as evidenced by a photo of her provising the former leader of the free world with a shoulder massage during an airport layover. All right, we're going to continue on. This is Questioning Authority. More coming up.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for Forkfest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Forkfest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and Forkfest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for Forkfest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow Forkfesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the Forkfest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Right now, it's looking like tonight's record $500 million Powerball drawing could be cancelled, as embarrassed lottery officials have admitted they lost the balls. Douglas Bronstein, Deputy Director of the Multi-State Lottery Association, addressed the press moments ago. We have a quote. "We know how important the balls are to a successful drawing. I saw them the other day, and I'm sure they'll turn up somewhere." Bronstein says it's usually Marketing Director Ben Callahan's job to keep an eye on the balls, but when reached for comment, Callahan said he just sits next to the balls. It's not his job to know where they are every second of every day. According to Bronstein, it's crucial they find the balls before tonight's drawing. Quote, "We'd love to use different balls, but these ones have the numbers on them." Bronstein added that once they figure out where the balls are, they promise to keep them in some sort of case instead of just lying around the office. When we return, we'll meet some of the undeterred Powerball superfans who are camping out before the big drawing dressed as their favorite numbers.
This is the Onion News Network.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
You know, I haven't heard from Ian at all so far tonight. So in theory, this, nothing could be working, and this could all just be a bunch of dead air. But anyways, in the meantime, I'm just going to be continuing to shouting at this wall in front of me. So I was reading this article here on Bill Clinton's longtime aide, Doug Band, implicating his boss in the Epstein probe, which was, apparently he's been speaking to, he's been speaking to, he's been speaking to, I'm sorry, I'm being distracted right now. And he's speaking to law enforcement about this for, looks like, 2 decades, it seems? What was it? No, anyways. So Mitrovich, who is one of the people who went on this tour with that guy, Bill Clinton, Secret Service agents, Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, the usual suspects. Mitrovich was a ballerina who was in her very early 20s at the time. She too made a memorable impression on Band and his boss, as just a few years later, she went on to work with her new friends at the Clinton Foundation. Lopez was the youngest of the 4 women on the trip and would become a fixture on Epstein's flight manifest in the years after the trip. Band had claimed that he spent years begging the Clintons to cut ties with Maxwell after Epstein's arrest, but to no avail. So, I mean, even after the guy gets arrested, this is at the point where Trump cut ties with Epstein even before that. And would kick, or at least didn't allow him inside of his inside Mar-a-Lago or whatever. So it takes, and I wonder if the Clintons ever did end up disavowing Epstein, or if that would just sort of what's the word? Legitimize scrutiny into them. He also has no issue cozying up to Maxwell at a party on Valentine's Day in 2007 in New York. Hillary and Bill's daughter Chelsea, in particular, grew close to Maxwell. Oh boy, oh my god! And these people do look like archons, right? Or not archons, but they look like the Babylonian Brotherhood, right? The bloodline, as David Icke calls it, right? These people look like they're possessed, right? And it's the same thing with Bill Gates, where Bill Gates doesn't really appear human. He appears like this extremely advanced, yet at the same time stupid AI system, right? Because it's like what they call the uncanny valley effect, where, he looks human and, or at least upon first look, he looks human, but there's something off about him. And it's like the same thing why sex robots, or, it's not even robots, just, sex, essentially automated, very advanced yet primitive sex dolls. It's like I don't understand how any of these people could get to rocks off with these sex dolls you see being advertised on like Vice.com and stuff, because it's just so it's like having sex with a silicone mannequin. It looks like it's just so odd. I mean, although I wonder if it would just be as odd if eventually the technology came about where they could create a sex doll that looks and feels human, but I don't think artificial intelligence is ever going to be that advanced that you could get like replicants from Blade Runner being prostitutes. I think probably the closest you could get to that is like some VR contraption where it's like a tanning bed, right, or an isolation chamber, except you attach something to your face so you could breathe, and then something to your dick, and then you're like suspended in chemicals. And if you have one of those Elon Musk suggested brain computers. Oh yeah, or something like in Cyberpunk 2077, which is where I'm getting a lot of stuff. All you have to do is just plug in one of these plugs into your head, and then it could they could send in like impulses or however it'll work. I mean, I don't even want to think about having a fucking computer in my brain. I mean, the computers we have in our hands, right? Phones, they work for the most part, and then the bigger it gets, the more shit that could go wrong with it. So I don't want a fucking computer in my head. But it would it would activate, the chemicals in your brain to tell your body to have an orgasm, and so you could have an orgasm for several hours. Damn. Man, I don't even know what that would feel like. My God. Hillary and Bill's daughter Chelsea. Okay, so she grew closer to Maxwell. Wow, very feminist of her. I mean, yeah, and some of these. I remember Ghislaine Maxwell was asking that her sex toy